Pardon me, just give me a moment.
All right, recording started.
So this is the screen that is shared. Sorry, I have multiple screens and I'm yes, now we have the agenda on the screen. So good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in. I see we have about 73 people who have already joined us. I'm expecting that in the next few minutes we should have more folks joining us. Key points that I just wanted to share with everyone, right? Please try to keep yourself on mute so as to not kind of get into the flow of the session. We'll have a few questions at the end of each of the keynote sessions, and that's where audience can step in. If you have any questions, we'll try to take a few of those questions right at the end of every keynote, and at the end of panel also we'll try to open it up at least for a few people to be able to participate. We'll try to keep it as interactive as possible, right? With that, let me also get into the flow of today's session. We have a jam-packed plan, and we plan to start at about 9:40, going all the way till about 12:30, right? So we have the first keynote talk from Rohin Nadir. He's the Chief Learning Officer at KPMG. We will then have a panel discussion also hosted by Rohin. We'll have Vaibhav Parekh, who is the Senior Manager of L&D at AdvantMed. We'll have Srinivasan Sundar, who is the Chief Learning Officer, basically AVP and Head of Learning at Maverick Systems. We have Lalit Suresh, who will be participating with us as well. He's the Global Learning Head at Tory Harris. We will then have the second keynote talk. We'll take a couple of minutes of break. We'll have the second keynote talk, which will be Shanti Sharma, who is an ICF PCC, a mentor and coach to a lot of folks in the learning industry, and the learning India learning lead at ANZ Bank, right? We will then take a short break for a few minutes, and we will then have the panel discussion, also hosted by Shanti. We will again have Srinivasan, Lalit participating with us, right? Then I have Vaibhav as well in this one. We will then have the third keynote from Sabi Kidwai, who is the Director of Learning and Talent Management at Schneider Electric. And then the third panel also hosted by Sabi. We'll have Vaibhav and Shanti participating in that panel discussion as well. So jam-packed session from around 9:30 or 9:40, I should say, till about 12:30, right? So I think we're already a couple of minutes behind. So with that, Rohin, maybe I'll let you take this one forward. Let me.
Sure.
So let me do a brief introduction of Rohin, folks, for all of you. Rohin, has about 20 years of industry experience across industries, like IT, financial services, professional services, etc. Currently, he's the Chief Learning Officer at KPMG. He's been there for 14 years, and he's been spearheading, L&D capability building and digital transformation initiatives, right? Earning a lot of accolades as the best trainer at KPMG, right? He's a passionate advocate, of learning innovation. He integrates gamification, blended learning, coaching ecosystems, etc. I personally had the privilege to watch him at one of the recent events in Bangalore, and that's where we kind of first interacted, and I mean, we thought that we have to have him here. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rohin Nadir, Chief Learning Officer of KPMG.
Thank you. That was a fantastic insight from my LinkedIn profile. Thank you. It's always to get into nice to be introduced for anything. People say the nicest things about you. So, great way to start Friday. Again, I think my solid appreciation for everyone who's joined this conference on a Friday. I'm a huge propagator of L&D folks coming together, getting out there, talking to each other. It gives you a fantastic idea of what's happening outside. It also gives you some sort of anchoring in your head about great new ideas and what stage of evolution are they in. So again, thank you everyone for making it. I know it's an early morning piece on a Friday. super appreciative. I hope you find value in what we're going to discuss. I'm just going to go on screen share now, sharing screen. Hopefully nothing will pop up on my team chat and we'll be fine. All right. So, okay. Is this clear? Can you all see my screen?
Yes, Rohan.
Okay, now I can't see
Yes,
myself, so
Rohin, we can.
I'm still there. All right. So, first, a fair use warning. Two things. One, I did speak. I did do a keynote address in November about using tech to build skills-based organization. And as I've been preparing for this session, there are aspects to what I said in November which I have modified basis this topic, which is creating scalable learning using technology. But certain parts of what I spoke about in November are still there because I do believe that they're relevant and they stay. Number two, obviously, views expressed are mine as a learning leader. And I think I have 22 or 23 years now, but in learning, but that's all right. Okay, so let's start. Uh, okay. So I thought we could quickly start off with just establishing that in a learning ecosystem, where has tech started coming in? Where do we expect tech to come in? So that, when you look at your L&D engine or how, what I call typically a learning ecosystem, how is tech really impacting it? Okay, so what are the broad areas where we know tech is either there or it's going to hit us? Needs and learner profile analysis. When I started in learning, we used to do old school needs analysis. All right, it was focus groups, a lot of reach outs, surveys, then churning through the data, working with the learning leaders, looking at engagement surveys. And I think there is solid merit to that. But what has started happening, especially at least over the last 4 or 5 years, as organizations have similarly gone into the learning technology domain, right? Especially in terms of learning platforms and so much learning happening online, it has started creating an opportunity for us to really deep dive into what learners are learning, when are they learning it, how are they learning it. And that data is not someone's best guess. It is actual databases, learner habits. And the implications are not just for what most of us do, which is skills learners are focusing on their own, or the skills they are going to online learning platforms to learn. The implication is also for us to understand learner habits better. When are my learners learning? What time of the day do they learn? So if I'm launching a 4-week learning journey vis-a-vis a 2-month learning journey where the learning items are spread out one item every week, which journey is seeing greater completion? Where are the learners dropping out more? When are they dropping out more? All of this data exists now on these platforms. The question or challenge is how do you pull that entire, firstly, what to look at? And secondly, how do you really churn all of that data to be useful? The second piece where I have been looking at a lot of tech, and I think it's super useful, especially in the technology domain, right? Because the skills are so the skill spread is so massive. The skills are changing so rapidly. Operational definitions of proficiency levels are a challenge that now when platforms are coming in with industry dictionaries of here are the job roles, here are the skill sets typically for each of these job roles. Here is the industry based normative proficiency level a person should have. And here is an assessment for that skill. And if you can pull off that assessment, then leading to a comprehensive guided learning pathway, then, that's almost like a 6 months to a 1 year of work by a lot of people very quickly done. And that sort of stratification and actually personalization of skills wouldn't have, and role-based skills wouldn't have been possible. And think about the implications of this for organizations or for the larger world in terms of just gig economy, right? Eventually, at a global platform, if you just start thinking about not at a country, not at a company, but at a societal level, eventually you could move to a space where jobs are very clearly available and organizations are just hosting, here are the jobs which we have in terms of gig work. Here are the skills they need. Here are our public learning opportunities, because we are very focused on bringing talent in quickly. All right. That sort of a model, if organizations start thinking about, potentially could be one way to think about it. But again, that's out and about. But the point is that platforms, learning tech has started enabling that. We couldn't think about that a couple of years back. Proficiency analysis is something I just spoke about, but that I believe, and it's not the most glamorous piece about learning tech, but it is I think one of the most critical things which drive personalization and the eventual efficiency of learning. And it's historically been a challenge. How do you build scalable? So if you have 2,000 people, where communication skills is a critical skill, let's look at something as fundamental as communication skills. How do you figure out of the 2,000 how many people need what level of training? And hence you are able to one personalize it. But eventually, when you get to the question of impact analysis or effectiveness analysis, if the trainings are not designed and mapped to the right proficiency level, that messes around with your efficiency or if effectiveness analysis. Tech has started helping there, and one or two things which, okay, so 3 days back or 2 days back, right, I was messing around with this on my phone. So my phone has a AI chatbot, right? So I was actually doing a role play with that chatbot in terms of that, I'm doing a client negotiation. This is what it is. Help me practice. And was it amazing? Mm, No, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad. And that's also a thing to keep in mind when it comes down to learning tech, right? A lot of it is amazing, but as it's evolving, it's getting better at giving you that experience which you would typically in the old school way get through, for example, in a scenario like that, in a one-on-one conversation. But it's not there yet for a lot of these simulations or in terms of the platforms, but it's getting there. So that I think is a very, very interesting area which has started opening up, but the tech is still developing, at least in my limited experience. Adaptive learning is a term which I've started reading about over the last couple of months. But to put it very simply, for me, adaptive learning is that you have these, even in the best view, these dynamic learning pathways, right? But the learning pathways, and I'm talking primarily about learning pathways which are technology based, right? In terms of they're provided by a technology platform. So you have these learning pathways which have been job role curated. They have the right assessments, proficiency levels. Another person is on like a 2 month journey, right? But depending on the learner's learning habits, the backend engine picks up, feeds that into the larger data set which is available for that organization or that norm, and then starts tweaking learning prompts, all right, learning milestones to further personalize it to that person's learning preference or the learning habits. Is it there right now? No, but um, one thing which I'm going to talk about later also is that a lot of these platforms and most organizations, as I understand it, talking about the convergence, right? So eventually, as all the tech in an ecosystem converges and starts focusing on optimizing human potential and outcomes, my visualization is that we are looking at eventually some sort of an individualized tutor or individualized, I mean, you will have your buddy with you who you can talk to, brainstorm, and who's constantly guiding you, not just from a learning perspective, but an everyday and strategic effectiveness perspective, and aligning all the things which are available in an organization's technology ecosystem, right? It could be a meeting notes, it could be uh, sample presentation decks if you're heading for a certain presentation, and crystallizing all of that into learning in the flow of work sort of model. Tech is already impacting resourcing views, and it has for a very long time, right? What skills does an organization have? What business is in the pipeline? What skills do we need? What's the proficiency level, and hence over the next 2 months, what are the people I want to train? That's already existing. You can argue about the effectiveness a lot of these platforms and how they come together, but that exists. It'll only get better. Learning in the flow of work is something I spoke about right now. Coaching for application is a personal favorite. It actually talks back to the learning tutor, as I was talking about. But coaching for application is based, in my head, on a very basic logic of learning tech, learning tech academies, everything which you can think about from a learning design perspective, right? Typically, you will get a person to a point of time where you have, depending on the learning levels, eventually got to a point where a person is able to apply that learning through new muscle memory in at some point of time when you're testing them, or at an in point of time when they need to, right? But at some point of time, the learning effort ends. That is where, when you look at effectiveness, which is you're looking at long-term effectiveness of any learning solution, you start looking at slightly longitudinal metrics, right? So if I'm looking at running a sales program, I will look at immediate effectiveness of the program, yeah, but I would also look at over 1 year and over 2 years, people who have been in this, right? And who've gone through my program. How has the skill application been at different points of time, and how is it stacking up to actual sales metrics, for example? I think that's the space where AI based coaching is going to be a game changer, because where most people struggle is that we can intellectually understand a concept, right? You can do that in a 1 hour virtual classroom, depending on the attention you pay. You can do that in a 30-minute e-learning, depending on just how the learning modules are built and what's the objective. Or you can do that over a 3-month solid journey or a 5-day boot camp. But eventually, practice and being able to apply and repeatedly apply and practice and get better is where the, I think, optimization of skill set happens. And I think that's where I believe that, especially for leadership skills, and progressively as sandboxes and practice environments become even easier in terms of access, in terms of um, being customized to what we believe are critical skills. And there is this, and I do believe we all need this. People, I think, like would like to have someone they could just turn to and quickly brainstorm or pick a question with and think that, okay, you know what, I want to do this. Do you think it makes sense? I think that is where coaching for application learning and a lot of these things you're seeing on the screen will really start coming together. Okay. This is a slide I had done earlier also, and I do like this slide because I personally found it quite exciting. So, when you're looking at how tech impacts learning solution design, the green cases are the ones which are already clearly with tech. Theory of any topic now can be easily delivered in a very scalable fashion through technology platforms. You've got to figure out the right ones. You, yes, have to sit down with domain experts and get the right content curated. Use cases. So if you look at the learning process, right, first people need to understand the theory. Then they need to understand application. Application is where use case generation and extremely customized use case generation has typically been a challenge because it requires a lot of effort. Scaling it has been a problem. And if you want to do tech, I mean, hyper personalized using technology, then you need a lot of different types of use cases to cover personalized cases. That has become a lot easier with a lot of the tools which are available now in terms of drafting and creation. I love some of the new tools which are coming out, which do a lot of text to video generation, because the entire concept of learning through watching a lifelike movie. And that's something which I've been thinking about for, I think, 10, 15 years, that the entire immersive experience of watching a movie can shape so much of our life models. So using very specific videos, for example, which are built on complex text scenarios, which are generated by a platform, could be a very interesting tool to just start helping people examine use cases, especially when it comes to higher order learning, or when you would say, for example, if I want to teach people negotiation skills, right? You can teach the theory quite easily. I have personally built learning pathways around that, and I've looked at the learning pathways. It's typically the demonstration of the use cases and helping people see all the different types of theories being applied, which has been a challenge, right? That is very doable now. The third step is that, okay, I've seen the use cases, now I need to apply. Scalability in application has been a problem. And that is where, as tech is coming in, right, we've also already started seeing that very what we call technology skills, that now you have so many practice environments. As this starts getting better and spreading into to other domains, this is going to become so much easier. So that's a space I'm very excited about. So I'm also looking at assessment platforms, I'm looking at practice platforms, because once people apply, right, and they get into application, and application then leads to practice, and practice then leads to feedback, that becomes for me a very interesting just process. So getting to the point of application, getting to practice then, all right, and practicing through the different scenarios and getting feedback for those different scenarios in a scalable fashion, that is where the game is significantly going to change. And for example, the example I just gave you of talking to the agent on my phone, I tried doing that with, okay, give me feedback on articulation. It didn't do much of that, but that is where I think a skill which we should start thinking about is prompt engineering, right? Are we enabling people to learn through tech and through AI, and I'm using them interchangeably? So for me, this loop, right? Oh, sorry, this loop of helping people and to build learning solutions at scale which allow people to apply, no, not get to the point of application, practice, get feedback, and then that loop keeps continuing, going through the different use cases. I think that is very, very interesting. Now, what tools should anyone be looking for? And I do appreciate this might be a slightly repetitive slide for all of you, but I did want to put it out there. You need to have an LMS or LXP. A lot of organizations are both. If you have just an LXP, which works well, sure. Focus on testing it well enough for your use cases. What kind of people, what kind of skills, how are you expecting to use it? Put time into doing the user experience testing. It's super important, because once you deploy it, you will have it for a bit and you will have to build your entire learning ecosystem around this. Online learning platforms, which ones work for you, which ones don't. My recommendation typically is look at skills you want to service in a scalable fashion. Okay, look at skills where the content is very quickly, dramatically changing, because then it's better to have a market specialist do that for you. And of course, if there are platforms that come with the job role, hence job skill, hence assessment, hence skills required thing, that's amazing. Data analysis tools, very underappreciated and so important for learning functions now. We all know a lot of L&D people, right? Most folks are not wired or educated in significant data analysis, and data analysis will and should be driving a lot of your learning strategy. So invest in data analysis tools, bring in people who understand and can work with you on that. Assessments, I don't think I want to belabor that point. Assessments are just super important. So what assessment platforms? And again, there is a world of stuff out there, right? So focus on what you believe are your critical skills. What are critical skills? Either skills, if your people don't have, they can't work. And these could be domain, they could be technology, they could be behavioral. And then skills which you believe very clearly talk back to your overall strategy, your strategic priority. Content generation tools. Yes, super important. Content generation is typically the one of the biggest things which messes around with turnaround time on any solution you need to service. What does that mean? It means that if you get a need from a business that, okay, I need to quickly pivot on this skill, by the time you're able to service that need, it takes a lot of time. So content generation tools are important, but again, first look at your online learning platform, because you don't want to create redundancies in your technology ecosystem. Video generation tools, I think they have made a lot of progress in the last, especially at least in my view, 6 months, but they're only getting better, right? And the one thing which about AI, which is just so interesting, is this quote which said, "This is the worst it will ever be, because every day all of this is getting better." Job role based skill data platform, I spoke about that, right? I think crunching and creating that data set depending on your population size could be doable, but you could sit down with domain experts and do that. But if you can find platforms which do that for you, especially at scale, brilliant. Gamification. So gamification platforms are interesting. Um, I haven't had so I've looked at gamification platforms. Gamification as a learning tool feeding into how solutions are designed, and then learning technology for that, I think that has started getting better. I would also recommend though that you don't need to just wait for learning tech, because I see a lot of people dependent on technology for gamification. No, gamification is applying the principles of games. Okay, the competition and all of that, reward, competition, and the critical principles, right? To a learning intervention that you can also do without tech. It will be more effort because you need to look at counting scores, looking at data on who's crossed what milestone, doing badges, but it's there. Coaching I spoke about. Learning in the flow of work, I do want to point out these things. AI-based coaching I spoke about. I think chatbots are going to make are going to become very important in the next 1 or 2 years. And the reason I'm saying that is again quite simple. I would imagine that you everyone wants to make learning application the easiest for a person, right? So I don't want a person to go through the duress of, okay, I need to learn this, where do I learn it, what do I need? No, I should just be able to turn to, as I said, an avatar or a chatbot and say, I got a presentation on this is the data I have, what do you think? And it can analyze, let's say, 10 different presentations done to in a similar sector around the same problem statement and come back to me and say, you know what, here are the things you should be looking at, that converted to a storyboard. So it cuts down a lot of the work which goes into getting these work outcomes, which are not really, I don't think which is required anymore. So that tech, I think, is very quickly getting better. It does require L&D professionals to start getting very comfortable with the entire thing about AI, right? So LLMs, training those engines, those pieces we need to start getting very interested in. So as I start wrapping up, right, what are my watch outs? Platform integration, get, if you are very good with learning tech, sure. Otherwise, work closely with people who look at tech in your firm, because platform integration is typically a watch out. Otherwise, too many platforms, they mess around with the user experience, they mess around with your data, and it's just a lot of work. What skills? Now, this is the other thing, right? So when you talk about scalable learning through tech, what skills do you want to do this to? There are certain skills which I do not believe can be serviced very effectively through tech. Let's look at a old school one. Presentation skills. I can teach people storyboarding. They can practice. They can even practice articulation, like going through a presentation, and there would be a smart system which could give them potentially feedback, which is, let's say, accurate enough. But and having designed and run these programs over years, right? If your outcome behavior is I want person to be able to do a great presentation in the boardroom in front of people, right? That requires an amount of in-person expertise from a facilitator, dynamic feedback, which as of now, I don't think is possible in a classroom, without a classroom. Sorry. We need to get comfortable with technology. As I said, before the conference started, one point I was discussing with some of our panelists is it's got so much easier to understand tech. So now when you're looking at tech, right, it's got a lot easier for us to just understand deep technology platforms and how they would fit into what we are visualizing. But we need to stay on that journey. We need to start becoming more comfortable with, if the previous slide, right? If these are things which I'm looking at, do I know the key players in the market? Do I understand the pros and cons? Have I played around with it? Super important. All of this scalable technology using tech piece, right, throws up a big challenge of, are you curating and creating the right content? So partnering with domain experts, super important. Hence, your learning team's instructional design skills need to be top notch, which obviously talks to the point of effectiveness. For all of this, right, what are the learning metrics which you are agreeing with your stakeholders and the business leadership or the firm's leadership in terms of effectiveness? Is it engagement? Is it completion? Is it learning hours? Is it exclusive learners? Or when you're doing hybrid long-term journeys, you got assessments built in. What is it? Have a clear effectiveness policy and agreement with your stakeholders. Culture proposition is the other watch out. Learning technology is brilliant, it's getting better, and virtual reality will potentially be a massive game changer. But there is an entire culture proposition to learning, right? Especially for, I think, certain, depending on obviously where your head is at, but the I met a lot of people and they talk about these academies and schools they attended, and they're super smart. They would have had tremendous learning experiences, but their memories, their emotional connect to organizations, to people are based on hardcore coming together in a place. And of course, there is a view now which is becoming much stronger that certain skills are taught much better over a period of time through learning, through social learning, through cohorts learning together. So that's something you should start thinking about when you look at your overall learning tech strategy. And the last piece is you only have so much time, money, so what to pilot? You can't do everything, right? So, and this should talk back to your overall view on your learning technology ecosystem and your firm's strategic priorities. Last slide, I love ending with crystal ball views of where the future could potentially be. So this will take 30 seconds. Number one, we would need to reskill our learners in learning using technology. Okay. A lot of people who are digital natives would find it easier, but how do you go through a learning journey to achieve a certain level of proficiency? How do you use whatever tools you have in terms of generative AI to move through proficiency skills level faster? How do you make sure that you're doing learning in the flow of work? So do you understand how to work with the chatbot? Because the chatbot for us is a learning tool now. So a lot of these things require us to think, and not in terms of just what we want to do, but the change management of it. VR will be a game changer. I stand by it. I think as things like biosensory feedback through tech gets better, as the ability to immerse yourself in a learning in an environment gets better, learning will use a lot more of VR. Integrated personal tutor will happen, as I said. It's a question of time from my perspective. In-person programs are not going away. Okay, I think effectiveness, the design of them, all of those pieces will continue to evolve like they should, but they are not going away. But what skills they focus on is going to be and has to be significantly thought through. So that's it. Thank you for your time. I think I might have run over time, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Thank you for your patience, everyone.
A bit. Wonderful.
Sorry, I missed.
Rohit, thanks for that. I think that gave a very holistic view of the learning ecosystem and where we are going, right, with technology and with AI and with so many new things evolving, right? So at this point, everyone, we'll open it up for a minute or two, even though we've run over time. That's fine. I now take your point, Rohin, at what you're saying, right, when we were discussing about the timing aspect of this, right? So with this audience, if you guys have any questions to post for Rohin, otherwise we will move to the next segment, which is the panel discussion. But just before that, if in case anybody wants to pose any questions with regards to the talk. Uh,
Someone had raised their hand, I think.
Yes, I'm actually, yeah. If someone had raised their hand, I would recommend you can unmute yourself and go for the question.
Hi. No questions. That's always a paradox. It's either very amazing or super scary. But thank you.
No worries. So then let us get into the next segment of today's conversation that we're having here, right? So up next, we have a panel discussion that, again, Rohin will be driving. It's going to call Metrics to Mastery, using analytics to drive learning effectiveness, right? And let me also do a brief introduction of the panelists, right? So we have Srinivasan Sundararajan, who is the AVP and Head of Learning at Maverick Systems Limited. He has about 25 years of IT experience, 6+ years in L&D leadership, right? He's a firm believer of lifelong learning, upskilling, data-driven talent strategies, etc., right? He's been recognized as the Impactful Learning Leader of the Year to 2024 and a finalist in the Economic Times Human Capital Awards as well, right? Srinivasan has been building high-impact learning ecosystems with AI-driven upskilling programs in his organization as well. We also have Vaibhav. Oh, I see now a hand raised actually. Anyway, let me complete these introductions and then we'll go back to the question. We have Vaibhav Parikh. He's the senior learning and development manager at AdvantMed. He has about 15 years plus experience in driving talent solutions and performance-focused learning strategies. He has been scaling learning initiatives from the ground up and has been delivering 36,000 plus learning man hours while integrating talent management frameworks and enhance recruitment, performance, and succession planning in his organization. Right. And we also have Lalit Suresh. He's the global head of learning and development at Tori Harris Integration Solutions. Right, he's a strategic L&D leader with deep expertise in program management, competency development, and workforce transformation. Right, he also has a background, at IBM and HCL, where he has been driving and scaling L&D programs before, becoming the global head of learning and development at Tori Harris. Right. So with that, we have our panel, and the topic of the panel, again, just for everybody's input, is metrics to mastery, using analytics to drive learning effectiveness, right? That's the one that we have. Rohin, should we take a pause and take up the question, or?
Um, I mean, listen, man, I'm a guest, so you you guide me. Do you want to take a question? Sure, let's take a quick question. We'll do like a 30-second response potentially.
So, okay, there is somebody who's saying I can't seem to unmute myself. I'm not sure why that's happening. Um, so, going for the question then, right? How to design a learning module for the new generation, who have been in organizing over the years with AI integration. So I think this is coming from the perspective of, the Gen Z, and now we have Gen Alpha coming into the workforce, right? So Rohin, maybe you can talk a little bit about, you did already speak about digital natives, right? But maybe what do we do about the future workforce, right? Considering
So,
the learning spans and things like that.
see, my recommendation actually is, and over the last couple of months, as been getting more and more into it, is that I think we need to do a slight pivot now where I don't think we should be thinking in terms of the designing a learning module. We need to be thinking in terms of how do I expect a person to apply that skill in the flow of work? And then we got to work our way backwards. All right. A simplest example for that could be like, let's say you teach report writing. All right. And you say that there is a certain model of report writing, which I want to teach everyone. So earlier people would be established at a threshold of here. You would teach them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they would get here. Right. But if there is a software or platform available now which does the report generation for you, then I don't need to train people from here to there. I need to teach them that you take the material, you do report generation through this, and here is how you review the report as per the guardrails your organization has, which is a very different skill than to teach. So you are not looking at skill mastery or skill building the way you're looking at earlier. You were talking about how do I use AI and help people learn how to use AI to drive that work outcome is my recommendation as a quick mindset. So I hope that helps, Annapurna, and thank you for asking that question. Abhay, back to you. Okay, you are on mute.
Mute, yeah.
But I think you're saying that I should start.
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry about that. So, guys,
Okay,
folks, let's get into the
let's start.
next
Okay.
session of today's conversation, which is metrics to mastery, using analytics to drive learning effectiveness. We have Lalit Suresh, Vaibhav Parikh, Srinivasan Sundararajan, and Rohin Nadir with us. Rohin, over to you. You can take it forward.
So Rohin is not doing much in this one. When we all came together to discuss this, we established a few things. We established that this is super important as a topic, and we really need to, you know, understand this better. Secondly, I've got my notepad out because I'm looking at making notes. And then we figured that instead of doing like, questions and then moving that around, we agreed that, okay, for our panelists, we would ask them a very basic question. You understand the topic now. It's about using analytics to gauge effectiveness and build mastery. How would you do it? Okay, so how are you doing it and how would you like to do it? So that, and we would give each of the panelists around 5-6 minutes and maybe follow each, every time they finish, follow up with a quick question. If you have a question or I could ask a question, we could do that. And that's how we really use the 20 minutes so that everyone on this call is listening to three experts in terms of how they are looking at this very, very critical component. So, right, so we hadn't agreed on who's going first. So, Jen, it's over to you. Who would like to start? All right, Srinivasan, you've raised your hand, so it's you. Over to you.
Srinivasan, you're on mute.
Yeah. Thank you, Rohin. Thanks everyone for joining. Thanks to Stalwart Learning for the opportunity. Nice to see a lot of you, about close to 100 people on the call. Right. So before we jump into the topic, I just want to take a step back and understand what Rohin was talking about, how the base of L&D has changed over the last few years, right? Right. From a learner perspective, right, it becomes.
Hearing some echo, Srinivasan, just give me one moment. Let me see if anybody's unmuted. I will mute them. Just give me one quick 10 seconds. Maybe somebody would have joined from multiple devices. Just give me 5 seconds to. In fact, Srinivasan, I'll do one thing. I'll mute all. You can just unmute yourself once again and then move. I think that will be easy.
Sure. Yeah. So continuing on, so I just want to take a step back and see what has changed over the last 5 to 10 years, maybe, right? So from a one-size-fits-all approach, we are moving into hyper-personalization, right? That's a big change from a learner's perspective, what our learners want, right? That's the first one. Second one, it used to be a compliance, right? Every company used to have a learning department just to comply so that they also have a learning opportunity provided, right? So now it has become very critical business important, critical, right? It's a business critical function for the organization. That's the second one. Third one, earlier people used to think L&D could be done by anybody with some basic skills. Don't need any specialized skills. Now it's becoming a specialized role. So people understand it requires a lot of psychology, different type of skills that are required to run it. And then finally, from a support function, right? So we are looking at having a seat at the table, right? So that's how things have changed from the different perspectives of whether it's a learner, business, industry, or the global, right? So with this changes happening, right? So just coming into the topic of what on the analytics side of metrics that we used to collect, what we are doing now, again, purely from my perspective, what we do in our organization, and what I think we should be doing for the future, what is expected from us, right? So when we like 5-10 years back, what we used to measure was things like, okay, number of people who got trained, how many hours of training happened, and then maybe some of us touched upon the L1 and L2 levels of hit factors, right? How was the reaction and how was the learning in terms of their assessment scores? So that's it, right? So pretty much these 2, 3, and maybe a couple of more. So this was good enough for business, for the investments they were making. And because it was compliance, they're okay with these things, and they're only very minimal or low analytics was happening during that time, right? Then over the last 5 years, where I see the shift has happened is people are saying, no, it is all taken for granted now. If you're doing your trainings better, you're getting 4.7 out of 5. Yeah, it's all expected, right? So nothing great to feel about it, right? But what is the impact? So the L3 and L4 has taken a lot of focus, right? The behavior of the changes that people are showing it on the day-to-day thing after they took in the program, right? How is it impacting the delivery of what they were doing, right? How is it impacting customer satisfaction, and in turn impacting the revenue and other aspects, right? And so the business side of it, in terms of retention, in terms of revenue, in terms of customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, all of that has become a lot of focus over the last few years. Frankly, while all of us are trying to do this and show value, but not everything that we do, we could be able to show value in the way that business is expecting today, right? But we are constantly improving and able to show some value, right? So this is where it is today, right? But where we are going in the future, as Rohin was saying, on the technology, with a lot of learning now happening through technology platforms, whether it's a classroom session or something, it is happening through your LMS, LXPs, you have your content providing platforms, you have your assessment platforms. So you have plenty of data that is available to you about your learners, like what Rahin said, what they're learning, when they're learning, how they're learning, what is engaging them, where they are losing interest, right? So a lot of that is available. Then you have inputs about your trainers, the quality of trainers, inputs. You have data about your assessments, your assignments. A lot of data is going to be available. So it's important now. As Rohin said, we need to have a analytics function within the L&D, right? It could be a full-time role, or it could be a part-time role of somebody who's already doing something. But that is becoming super, super critical, right? So we can do analytics using tools like Power BI or a Tableau or similar tools like that, right? For you to look at analytics to understand how things have been based on the past data, right? So which is your just a second. Yeah, in terms of descriptive analytics, you could look at that, right? To see what is that telling in terms of behaviors and outcomes. Then you could do some predictive analysis based on what has happened. How could that be used for the future program that you're going to take, so that you can take precautions and correct some of that for better outcomes for the new program that you're taking in. And you also have prescriptive analysis that can, using the AI systems to tell, it can give you some ideas. You could pick up what works for you, right? So we have to be becoming super, data is something that we all should be very comfortable with, and analyze the data and use it for insights, for taking actions that will impact business. So we have to be very, very business aligned, and business should see as a partner and a strategic partner. Not necessarily, we should always look at they coming and telling us what they want. We should be telling, depending on what the organization is heading, we should be telling what we should be, what kind of learning programs we should be taking forward, right? So, so those are my primary things. And then finally, I just want to close with some of the technologies that are available for some of this, right? So with personalized learning coming, taking the focus now. So we have some LMS platforms that has adaptive learning experiences like Docebo and 360 Learning, and that are available, right? So, but I know with budget constraints, you may already have some LMS platforms. It may be difficult for you to go and purchase something new again. But you also have tools like Adaptemy and Disco. They can be integrated with your existing platforms. So those are things that you could probably try, right? So that's overall I want to convey. So I am seeing a very exciting times ahead for the L&D professionals, right? Super excited, learning every day from each one of you and every situation, right? I hope some of these points are useful to you and made sense for taking your time for the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Srinivasan. I think it was super useful. Quick question. Have you had any luck in picking up an intervention and very clearly being able to map it to business impact? You know that any type, any example there?
Yeah. So it's
As much as you can share. I do understand it might be sensitive.
no, it's okay. No, it's okay. Fine. Yeah. So see, one of the things in one of the all the I'm come from an IT organization, right? So we're all looking at doing all these training interventions to make them deployed into customer projects where we could start getting revenues, right? So so the final impact after all that is, are people able to clear the customer interviews, right? And are we able to
Yeah.
deploy them faster, quicker, right? So it's not any. How many of them are able to clear the first interview they are taking? How many of them are clearing the second or third opportunities they are taking? So the faster you are able to bring in revenues, right, and your ability to place them, deploy them into projects is one straight thing that business looks for, right? Otherwise, they say all the money I spent, what's in it for me? I know they all understand learning is super critical for the organization, for the employees, but how is it impacting me? I've invested lakhs of rupees on this, and but not making sense.
So
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
one.
that's a very good example, Srinivas, because shifts the metric from how many people got trained on this skill to how many people actually got deployed because they
Right,
had
right,
this skill. So yeah,
right.
it's an interesting point. Thank you.
Yeah. Just one more thing I'll add is the retention, right? So if you look at learning is the number one ask for the Gen Zs and the new set of people, right? Like while they may not stick to a company because you provide opportunities, they leave your company because you don't provide learning opportunities, right? So we have also reviewed our retention metrics for the last 1 year, 2 years, and we are seeing uh, differences, right? We are seeing improvement, right? Because see, the only trick is, like, while you're providing learning opportunities, you also have to provide equal opportunities for them to apply them, right? In the current roles or the new opportunities providing them. So if those things
Hmm.
can marry together, there is a high probability of retaining them.
Cool. Thank you. I think that's a great point about as a metric, right? The reduction in attrition because the number of people who are quitting because of learning that's gone down. That's a good metric. Thank you, Srinivasan. Weber seems to
Thank
have
you.
gone off screen, so Alex, I guess it's you.
All right. Great. I hope I'm audible to everyone.
You are. I
Great.
think
Thanks, Ronan.
Weber might need to go on mute.
Yeah, there is disturbance. Yeah. Thanks, Rini, for that insightful, details about metrics to mastery. I have put down a couple of things, and before I start, good morning, everybody, and welcome to this the Learning Summit. Right? Thanks, Abhay, for giving me the opportunity for this. Right? I'll not take much of the time because predominantly, I think as Ronan said, we all have 5 minutes, and I just don't want to repeat what Srini spoke. Okay, I'll just quickly run through. So I had actually, when I think about metrics to mastery, right? The first thing, as rightly said, Srini, it's the shift from traditional metrics to advanced analytics, right? So our traditional metrics was focusing more on completion rates, attendance, and satisfaction surveys. Whereas when we talk about advanced analytics, I think it's important for us to look at tracking engagement, learning behavior, and business impact, right? It's important to have AI-driven insights, right, which will help us identify the learning gaps and optimize the programs, right? Secondly, I would say identifying key metrics for learning effectiveness. As rightly pointed by Srini, right, it's important to move beyond completion rates to measure retention, application, and performance. Using of Kirkpatrick's 4 levels of evaluation, where initially our focus was more on the level 1 and the level 2, right? So, I mean, in the interest of the audience, so when we talk about level 1, level 1 is reaction, level 2 is learning, level 3 is behavior, and level 4 is results, right? So I think it's important for us to now, all of us are focusing more on level 3, level 4, which is behavior and the ROI, right? The results. Okay. Then it's important for us to track skills assessment scores, time to proficiency and on-the-job performance improvements. I think that's very, very important. So that's the shift that that we're looking at. Thirdly, leveraging predictive analytics, right, to for personalized learning. Now, in this, it's important that we have AI-driven recommendations, which provides customized learning paths, right? Using predictive analytics, identifying struggling learners early. I think that is something which is very helpful for us to help these struggling learners quite early, right? And then competency mapping, which suggests relevant learning interventions, using the predictive analytics, right? Fourthly, I'll talk about linking learning analytics to business outcomes, as rightly said by Srini. So it's important to have that collaborative approach between the business and the learning function, because always we are the enabling functions. However, it's important that we align training programs with business objectives and KPI. So how we do here is that it's a shared KPI. Okay, you want an intervention, you let me know. I will get that enabled for you. However, in terms of measuring the outcome and the effectiveness with respect to L3 and L4 of Kirkpatrick, right? It has to be a shared objective. You can't put that on me, right? I can enable, but the behavior impact and the results impact is something that the business have to also put in their effort there. So that becomes a shared KPI for us, right? Using real-time dashboards where we are able to measure the learning impact, right? Uh, as Ronan said, right, conducting longitudinal studies to track knowledge retention, okay? Uh, and then correlating learning data with performance metrics. Very, very important for us to, so that we are able to achieve the business outcomes. Now, the next thing is addressing data privacy and ethical considerations, right? It's important for us to ensure anonymized data tracking for privacy protection, right? Using usage of AI and everything. It's important that we have an anonymized data tracking there, and then implementation of consent-driven analytics to build trust with employees. We tell employees that it's important. Okay, I am doing this. We take their consent so that the trust becomes better there, right? It becomes more stronger. Okay, align with data governance regulations, for example, GDPR, ISO 27001. It's important for that, right? Then, it's important that how do we overcome challenges in learning analytics implementation? Now, the common roadblocks that we have is lack of data literacy, resistance to change, right? And integration challenges, as rightly said, Ronan, right? Start with, rather than investing in, if on a full scale enterprise model, right? Let's start with low cost, scalable analytic tools, see what the impact is, and then probably move towards enterprise aspect, right? Level. Encouraging cross-functional collaboration between L&D, HR, all the other functions. It's important because at the end of the day, right, it's not anybody's ownership, right? It's all of us together, right? Which in turn, we are able to contribute towards the business objectives, right? Uh, Having said all of this, now, I'm going to end with in terms of what are the future trends that we're looking at in learning analytics. Okay. One I see is AI and machine learning for intelligent learning recommendations. That is where we're heading towards to, right? Technologies like XAPI, blockchain, and VR-based assessments, which Ronan also mentioned, for enhanced tracking, right? And then real-time analytics dashboard to provide continuous insights. Now, if so if you remember, I mean, gone were those days where we used to do assessments based, which was MCQ based, right? Then we moved on to doing case studies, simulation basis, right? Problem statement. But now it's important that as the technology is moving ahead, it's important for us to start doing it where we take the help of AI as well. Now, what we do in our organization is that if there is a technical intervention being conducted, okay, the problem statement is given, okay. However, we use an AI based assessment tool where the problem statement is given and we give them few days to complete that assignment, right? Then once they submit the assignment, the AI based tool will actually check and then tell and ask questions to the individual that, basis how or what code have they submitted or what solution have they provided. So these would give us a bit of more insights about a person's thought process, right? The behavior, okay, when there is a problem situation, or how will they react, right? So it's important that we use technology, and it's important that uh, analytics we use heavily to define the learning effectiveness. Ronan, that I'm sure I'm able to do it in my stipulated time of 5 minutes.
Thank you, Lalit. I mean, listen, Ronin is also a lovely name, but mine is Rohit.
Somebody said Ronin, so I'm
Yeah, I know
sorry,
it got
Ronin.
no, I don't mind it. Okay, it's pretty cool. Ronin's,
My
what is
apologies.
that? Yeah, it was, I think, yeah, there's a no, the reference to it. No worries.
Hmm.
Um, listen, I really loved your part about the data and privacy piece and consent-driven analytics.
Hmm.
That is so important, especially as you get more and more into the data and you start
Correct.
getting into predictive analytics, right? What's okay, what's not okay. There is I mean, not particular to LND, right? But there is a basic question of when you do predictive analytics, right, and you base any decision on that which is impacting anyone else, are
Hmm.
you basically messing around with free will? Because
Hmm.
you are then orchestrating a system which assumes a person is going to act a certain way, and then the
Correct.
person is guided to act that way, and hence what happens to free will. But that's a debate for a different coffee session. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Lalit. Some very interesting points there. Webber, you're up. Be interesting to hear your views.
Seems to be a network.
There seems to be a network issue, Webber.
Yeah. Wherever we feel you're talking from Mars.
Or it could be a
This is,
machine gun.
Yeah,
it could be a machine learning asset.
Hey, any luck?
not coming across smoothly, Weber.
Maybe try logging
Maybe you
out
want
and
to,
logging in,
Weber.
Vaibhav. Yeah.
Maybe you want to just switch off your video for a second. Maybe that might help.
It's amazing how we've all got so good at troubleshooting through the regular things, right? Switch off video, log back out, log back in. I think you might have to ask Vaibhav to log out and log in.
He
I'll
just
make it
did
simple.
that. So he did just do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, fair.
Weber, you want to maybe join in from your phone? Maybe that might help because then you'll have the network.
I think there's a constant network issue.
Oh, well. That was a big one.
We'll do maybe 30, 40 seconds. Just wait.
Oh, in the
So
meanwhile,
this
Lalit,
all.
I actually was... Sorry,
No,
Srinivasan, go on.
no, I was just saying this always happens when you're on a demo session with a customer. Some of these things happen, right?
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's every
So true, so
It
true.
happens so many times. You're doing like a tech, something around tech, and you're saying it's great, and then that's the time it glitches.
Right. Yeah. So you had something, Rohin. You have to go ahead. Yeah.
I was just going to ask Lalit. Lalit, sorry, man, till Vaibhav comes
Hmm.
back on. Listen,
Okay.
give us an example of like how Srinivasan gave, right? Like a business impact where you are able to then say, okay, level 3 application we have figured. Okay,
Hmm.
when it comes to business
Hmm.
impact, I'm able to see this difference. Obviously, in technology firms, it would be a lot about, I think, error reduction. Um, how quickly are you able to generate code, for example, or getting staffed onto a client.
Hmm.
But is there anything specific you would like to mention?
So when this Gen AI thing started, right,
Yeah,
Rohin? So yeah, I'm correcting myself, Rohin. Yeah. So when this Gen AI thing started, right? So
yeah,
we had a focus saying that Gen AI at an organization level, it's important for every function to be
yeah,
aware of,
yeah.
right?
So
And
socialization.
socialization, awareness,
Hmm,
how will it impact and how will it help them to do their work better? So what we
sure.
started doing was we started doing functional level Gen AI based, sessions for each function, right?
Yeah,
We did for
makes
GenAI
sense.
for HR, we did GenAI
Hmm.
for marketing. Okay, we are about to do it for GenAI for sales. Okay,
Hmm.
we are also doing GenAI for with SDLC. Okay, then we're doing GenAI in terms of AI ops. So it's important that we are doing this, and trust me, when we did this for our marketing function, okay, what we did was we did not we made sure that not every topic is attended by everybody. So
So
we kind of
further
yeah,
segmentation.
we further segregated people, saying that okay,
Hmm.
if there's a team which is of UI UX, you will only attend UI UX, and there are certain topics which is which is necessary for everybody to know, then all of them attend. So
Hmm.
when we started segregating that way, trust me, it became more focused,
Makes sense.
and the facilitator was able to answer to the point with relevant hands-on, you know. What do you say, the experience to be given to them, and it really helped them. So when we started doing it that way, okay, we realized that I think this is something we should actually continue doing it. We make it more, as Srini said, right, hyper personalization. Okay, obviously I'm not going to do it via AI based learning path, but see, in our organization, Rohan, to be very honest, we don't have Udemy licenses, we don't have LinkedIn licenses.
Hmm.
Our organization's belief is that classroom training is something which is important, and people
Hmm.
have to focus if they
Hmm.
have to spend time in learning.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so
Fair point.
hence what we did was we started doing this hyper personalization. Okay, you want a program, let me know, I will do hyper personalized and instructor led intervention, so
So,
that
so quick question
hmm,
there. Sorry, Lalit, on this one
hmm,
because you're talking about the design.
hmm,
And I'm sorry to interrupt you there, but on this point of like this example you gave, right? So AI for
hmm,
HR, AI for sales, and so on.
hmm,
So you're bringing in a team which is not obviously an AI expert, and you want to customize it as per, and then further customize it within that function as per job role, the
hmm,
solution, right?
hmm,
So
hmm.
now, what is your engagement model? So you will typically then bring in an AI expert who will sit down with, let's say, a sales leader to say, okay, what are the how does the process work so that you are able to then create a very, as you said, segmented personalized learning at an AI level. So other use cases then designed by the AI expert in partnership with the sales
Exactly.
leader.
Yeah.
Where does yeah, okay.
So that's how we do, because it's a classroom based training, right? So the expert sits with the stakeholder, the requester, and with us to have the use cases customized to what they are facing, and we are
Hmm.
able to provide solutions for that rather than
So
taking a very generic use
So a
case.
very tactical question, which I think might be helpful for a lot of people. I think there's a hand which has gone up
Mm-hmm,
from Vrushali.
Yes.
Vrushali,
mm-hmm.
if you just give it, okay, okay. Why don't you actually, Vrushali, ask a question? Because I have a lot of questions, so I could go on. Hi,
Yeah, hey Rohin, thanks a lot. Hi, this is Vishali from BMC Software. So
hi,
Hi,
basically, I'm a
Vishali.
part of L&D there.
sure.
My question to Lalit was, you mentioned that you don't have Udemy or LinkedIn like licenses, okay?
Mm,
And actually, the question is, I think, in line with what Shona is trying to say. So, how do you ensure scalability, and how do you ensure the nibble-sized learning for your organization, right? Because sometimes you don't need to go in deep, and sometimes you really don't need that very specific customized approach.
mm-hmm,
But sometimes what you need is for the folks, for the masses to get started on certain
mm-hmm.
concepts, and that's where these very intelligent LinkedIn and Udemy-like platforms could help for us to
Okay.
get started.
Yeah. Uh, Great question. Okay. And however, Vishali, what we do is we do use a lot of these free resources like YouTube learnings and all of that. And my team actually spends time in curating these self-learning courses from Udemy, not from Udemy, sorry, from YouTube and other free resources available, right? And we have a catalog created which is which is accessible by every employee in the organization, and we tell them to get started with those first, right? Once you get a hang of it, then we go into a specific classroom based training. Because our belief system, see, though we say that Udemy, LinkedIn learnings are helpful because it's on the go learning, bite-sized modules available, right? Uh, but whereas the organization's belief is that we don't want to offer a menu card or a bouquet of offerings where people spend time on learn trainings which are not useful for their work. Okay. Hence, we want them to get started on topics which is required at the workspace, and then get into a classroom mode to make it more specific.
Yeah, so basically, very, very intentional and very focused is what. So, do you
Exactly.
have a corresponding skills assessment model also in place? Do you use any tools like Degreed, which is the market leader for skills
Hmm.
assessment? So, do we have that correspondingly so that you know exactly where are the skill gaps for a particular role of an employee, and
No,
then
we
you are
don't.
able to,
Yeah, we don't
manual.
use any such tools, Rishali. We take a lot of inputs from the business, from their reporting managers when they do one-to-ones and understand where the gaps are, and then we do it that way. We don't
So,
use any
Lalit,
tools. Yeah.
so picking up on the question, so you base your skill mapping then happens as performance manager inputs,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So, okay, so that was actually a question I wanted to ask because, in all of our discussions, right, one thing which we have, which I think we should bring in is the role of the performance development process over the year.
Hmm.
And, the performance manager or the engagement manager actually having a view on how the person is doing on the job,
Hmm.
whatever that person is, and
Hmm.
that data feeding back into a central system where it's getting collated and churned to
Hmm.
create an organizational level view on how the skills are doing and what are the skill clusters coming out, which constantly feeds back into the L&D team. And at the same point
Yeah.
of time, I think that is where again, I think it became unfashionable over the last few years because we all spoke about tech, but I am very I think I'm a firm believer that manager investment in the team members learning, and it doesn't mean that you're teaching them, but
Hmm.
talking to them about how they're doing, that feeding into what skills you have, what skills you need to develop. I think
Correct.
that dialogue does wonderful things for learning effectiveness. And as we all focus on learning effectiveness, right? The one big recommendation I also have is that, you know, we all have a fantastic view on learning design mostly.
Hmm.
So that
Hmm.
learning designs domain is evolving, skill, design options are getting better, tools are getting better. But Lalit, something that works in org A may not work in org B. Absolutely. And I think that's
Absolutely.
the point that, where the skill the design ends for us, right? And the
Hmm.
person is moving on. How do we ensure that post that person exiting that classroom or whatever the learning intervention in the
Hmm.
actual world, there is a feedback, coaching loop generated so that that person gets to that point because that is, I mean, where it becomes a default behavior for that person, the new skill. That is where I think L&D teams would also need to shift focus. The
Absolutely.
change management of that
Hmm.
skill, which talks back to how do you customize an intervention for different audiences and different culture fabrics.
Hmm.
I think that some
So
people have raised their hands, but I sorry, I wanted to quickly check in with Abhay. Abhay,
is Vaibhav joining in?
is
So
Vaibhav joining? Because I know you have an
Weber
agenda.
might take a minute or two. He told me to, keep moving forward. He might take 5-10 minutes to join back. He's also part of the panel in the later sessions as well. So
Okay.
Okay.
so he's like, let me resolve this properly. I think we have time for a question or two. Quick ones. We
Sure.
can maybe take it up and wrap it, and then
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
forward.
So
So
before I move ahead, so Rohan, answering to what you just said, right? Now, for us, as I said, okay, we are a very small size organization. Okay, we are not a large organization. So where
sure.
we invest heavy tech in analyzing and looking at the continuous improvement and the behavioral change, right? Whereas in our organization, okay, we do a lot of human intervention. So everywhere
Hmm.
it's a human dependent thing. So we make it a point that after every intervention is finished, right, there is a check back to the reporting manager or to the director or the service delivery manager to understand whether there is the application of the learning has been done and there is an impact. So Okay, so what we do is we do a lot of survey forms, and there's a lot of to and fro conversation after every program that me and my team do with the business to make sure that the track is not lost, and there is a constant touch and there's a constant check of the application of the knowledge. We don't leave it there, right? If there is a need, then we go back again, and more, and all of our sessions that we do recordings, and it is kept in the central repository for people to go back and review it again.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's how we are
yeah.
able to
That makes sense, man.
exactly, that's
So
how we are
Lalit
able
has
to do
actually
that.
made a very good point about even the point of technology, right? It needs to align with your strategic view of the organization and the leadership, right? So, and scale and the philosophy then kind of talks to how you want to adopt tech. And again,
Correct.
some very solid old-fashioned stuff, which is super. I know people don't talk about it, but is just so effective. And the kind of dialogues you can have to genuinely generate information and insight in these models is tremendous. So great. Thank you for
Correct.
sharing that.
Thanks.
We have a
Thank you.
question. No, we have few questions. No. Do we? Someone had raised their hand. Do you want to unmute yourself and
We
ask
have
questions?
three, yes.
All right.
Okay, I have a quick
Yes, sir.
question. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm Sukumari. I represent KPMG. So, we are a team who runs very exclusive completely for the CIO based organization. So it's for the CIO team. So it's high on technology. And when it comes to learning effectiveness measurement, it's been challenging in certain ways because, sometimes the learning implementation doesn't happen because lack of availability of tools, lack of availability of the environment. So, pretty much, there are not enough projects to support that technology. They might have learned the technology. What is the best way to kind of, look at learning effectiveness for people in a tech way, in a very tech environment? Soft skills, we have other methodologies which we follow, and technology also to some extent when the labs are available or the environment is available, it becomes easier. But when it is lacking, it becomes a challenge. So, what is the best suggestion for that?
Since Sukumari is from KPMG, I'll catch up with her separately and we can chat then. But you guys are non-KPMG, so please share your views.
Vaibhav.
I think I'm back now. Is it better?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to hear.
Much better
Thank you very
voice.
much, Shanti. Shanti just reached out to me and she checked out for my well-being, and then she was like, maybe Murphy uncle visited you, and it did happen, right? So,
Okay, guys, I have to
right.
drop. I have to drop off. I have a meeting catching up. All right. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you all.
Thanks, Lalit.
Thank
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you, guys.
time. Thank you for making
Pleasure,
time
guys.
today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalit. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
So, Vaibhav, did you, so Sukumari from KPMG had, posted a question. I'm not sure you caught that. So,
So, Abhay, sorry, because we've kind of gone through the time. I just wanted to check before we get into this. Are you all right if I drop off and you could carry on with the questions? And we, of course, have Weber. Weber, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss listening to you, and I was looking forward to it. But I'll definitely chat separately.
yeah, I think maybe Vaibhav, since Rohan is
Sure.
moving, Lalit is also moving, right? And with the paucity of time,
Sure.
maybe could we
Yeah.
move into the next segment? And right, so we have you for the next panels as well. So we will kind of continue there.
Right. I'm sorry I missed out.
No, man,
Technology
that's
isn't
all.
just, yeah.
No worries. I think
Supporting.
we have some good time
Got
together
some time.
still, so we will definitely continue.
Thank you, Abhay, for the invite, and thank you everyone for your patient
Much
listening. I
address,
tried
Nita.
to get through all the questions. Weber, definitely going to be in touch with you. Take care. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you, Rohan.
Thank you. Thank you, Rohin. Bye-bye.
Guys, so we have one, just give me a moment. I'm going to remove some of the spotlights that I had put earlier. Or spotlight Vaibhav because, right. So let's quickly move into the next session. We have Shanti Sharma, who is going to be, doing a keynote talk, right, around revolutionizing employee development, how AI is transforming L&D programs, right? And to do just a brief introduction, very, very brief, I don't think this is going to do a lot of justice, right? And we've known each other for a long time. So, taken a lot of back and forth over the last few years. But Shanti Sharma has about 26 years of industry experience. She was, the India learning lead at ANZ. Post that, she and she's also had a tenure at Accenture, in the learning space. Before that, she's an ICF PCC certified coach, EMCC accredited senior practitioner, right? Through the years, we've seen her, very, very passionate, for, how to, deliver learning in corporate environments, outside corporate environments, building learning journeys, right? A lot of that. And, through her new venture, Grow with Satori, she's focusing on empowering individuals and teams to unlock their potential through self-discovery, coaching, and transformational learning. Right? So, with that, Shanti, I'll let you take it forward for your keynote talk.
Thank you so much, Abhay. So glad to be here with all of you. Can you please confirm you can see my screen?
We can, yes.
Lovely. This is a topic close to my heart. In fact, when Abhay asked what you want to talk about, employee development is at the core of what I do, and hence no better topic than this. And given how AI is impacting our lives across all areas, I said, why not? Since Abhay has already introduced myself, I won't add much. I will run through the slide. The only thing I would want to talk about is the newest feather in my cap. I'm a published author since December, and I take pride in it. I know it's a very new thing that I'm celebrating still. My book is called as Women Maverick, available on Amazon. It's a story about 9 women leaders and their journey towards entrepreneurship. With that, let's jump right into the topic, and I'll start with a question. If you can just share in the chat, what are the current challenges with employee development that you face? Just a couple of words, if you can put in the chat, that will be great. Adoption, retention, yeah. Yeah, we'll move forward, and I completely knowing the why are they part of the training program? I love that. Yeah, so absolutely, several traditional approaches haven't served us really well. And a recent McKinsey survey actually indicated that about 87% of the companies worldwide acknowledge that there is a skill gap, and they anticipate that skill gap to only widen in the future. When skill development is super important, we of course need smarter, quicker, better ways to develop our employees. And here is my view, my perspective. I'm not an expert in AI by any way. My view as to how AI can come to our rescue. So today we're going to explore this relationship that learning has with AI. So my next question to you to be for all of you is, have you ever experienced AI in learning, and what have you done in your organization? Anything quick? Personalized learning, I totally hear everyone. What apart from that? Content fatigue, for the previous response, I totally hear you. Where apart from in project management? So where in learning, apart from customized learning recommendations to move into first gear? Okay, I'm not sure if these are answers for my current question. AI in coding is a big one, absolutely. To summarize training needs, absolutely. Yeah. To access learning faster, I hear you. Copilot is a brilliant example. AI in project management. Thank you for clarifying this, Ali. Video creation, Sukumari. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So you all are very familiar with it. So I'm going to, I'm thinking if you just stop sharing the slides and just talk through. I think that might just be better. So I am going to stop sharing the PPT. Let me just talk through what I have in my mind. So why are we talking about AI in L&D, you may ask? I mean, well, modern businesses do demand agility and customization in L&D to keep up with the technological advances. AI is impacting every field, I think, pharma, manufacturing. So AI in learning cannot be avoided. And with AI coming into the hands of the common man, with every one of us has used ChatGPT, every one of us has used Copilot, Gemini, so on and so forth, it becomes more important that these are brought to our use itself. Yeah. So first thing, I think all of you agreed is that personalized learning path, EdCast, degree, all of these LMSs now understand the concept of hyper-personalization. Srini mentioned in the earlier panel. By analyze employee skills, preferences, learning gaps, and recommend absolutely tailored learning journeys. This ensures that the employee receives training aligned to what their career goal is or their organizational need is. Yeah, employees have time to focus on, other meaningful tasks rather than going through long catalogs on the LMS platforms and trying to figure out what am I supposed to be doing across all of this. So that is one particular benefit. In fact, when I was researching for this session, I came across Lang O'Rourke. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the construction engineering firm very accurately. They successfully revamped their entire staff training by adopting approaches that were inspired by social media platforms like Instagram and TikTok. I'm like, wow, even that is possible. What they did was they just offered bite-sized courses in contemporary formats, and the company really increased its use of online learning. In fact, their report, if I remember correctly, states that their LinkedIn learning moved from somewhere from 35% of usage to 95% of usage because the tool would recommend to the employee the correct kind of learning. Second, I think AI has driven platforms that adapt content delivery based on the learner pace and also performance. Yeah, ensuring that more engaging and effective experience is offered to the learner throughout the journey. Employees can revisit challenging topics, they can retake tests, they can review, ask questions. So all of that is made really possible. One example that comes to me that Duolingo. In fact, I have referred Duolingo to my maid who is actually trying to learn English so that she can teach English to her son. And she's very happy with it. And every day she'll come and tell me the 2 new phrases she's learned on how to use how to converse in English. So there is at least 15% of our conversation now happens in English. That's a brilliant thing I think AI has actually done to bring such learning across to everyone. The third thing that I see AI intervention in learning space is in coaching and offering real-time feedback. AI-powered tools, virtual coaches, and real-time feedback systems really enhance the entire experience that a team member has. These tools identify areas of improvement while the task is being performed, post the task is performed, providing actionable items for the team member to work on. Not only that, even the manager, when they have to consolidate data, I think these tools come in very, very handy to support the manager when they have to provide feedback. The Springfield Public Schools, it is in Massachusetts, not the India version of the Springfield Public School. They've successfully integrated Microsoft Speaker Coach to enhance both the student and the educator presentation skills. Students utilize the tool to practice presentations, receiving real-time feedback on aspects like pacing, pronunciation, using filler words, etc. So this practice has led to an increase in their confidence, their ability to speak in public without stuttering, And in fact, the students' grades have significantly improved. Not only that, educators have also benefited by refining their lessons to exactly the areas of development that the student reports indicate. So it is a two-way benefit when we use feedback and when we use AI for feedback and coaching in training. Another aspect that comes to my mind is streamlined talent analytics. I think analytics we've been speaking about in the previous panel a lot. AI does transform workplace data into actionable insights, though I will talk about it a little later, where what do we do with this insight still has to sit with the human. So that's where we are still saying that, yes, AI is brilliant to give us all the data, but we still need that human intervention. And AI is used in learning for immersive learning experiences. The one example that really comes to me is this year how Walmart has utilized their VR to prepare their employees for high pressure environment during the Black Friday sales. You know, every time their employees would be fatigued, they would be, you know, we have seen so many videos of all the fights in the malls and stores. Supposedly Walmart had been able to predict, read from the previous years, and be able to train their on the ground floor employees using VR. That's a brilliant example of real cases where VR can be used. Of course, scalable learning opportunity is something that we can't dismiss. AI does demonstrate the ability to democratize learning, to make it accessible, make it scalable across the global workforce, chatbots, learning assistants, multilingual language translators. All of these are brilliant examples that can make learning scalable. I can't discount the enhanced engagement that the learner has. Interactive AI tools will help in gamifying, increasing engagement and retention of all the concepts learned. In fact, I was reading that there is this organization, Salesforce. They employ several of their sales learning journeys help skill building through gamification. So yeah, I know I've presented cherry-picked all the wonderful things and the benefits that AI can offer. However, I'm very aware that the picture is not all that rosy. A few things I wanted to call out as we are thinking about, bringing in more AI into the learning space. The first one is that AI lacks true empathy and the ability to understand human emotions beyond data patterns. So when you're talking about leadership coaching, when talking about conflict resolution, when you're talking about mentorship, this requires a far greater human touch than just analyzing data, numbers, and facts. AI may misinterpret complex organizational dynamics, cultural sensitivities, or even ethical considerations. The reason being, it is a cut, copy, paste, right? It's going to use the data that already exists on the internet. And if I put out a biased data, so garbage in, garbage out, may actually cause these contextual judgment and nuance related issues. While AI can assist with idea generation, it also struggles with bringing out truly original thought. I'm sure all of you, when you read an email, when you read an article with all those chat GPT-ish words, I don't even know how do I even address that? It irks me because it is so artificial, it is so inhuman. So are we humans losing our creativity as we are deploying this? Are we encouraging our team members to lose all their creativity? The next drawback is that AI can suggest learning path, but meaningful career conversations and tailored mentorship requires far more professional experience, far more endured, experienced to be able to share and speak about it. Last thing, I think, employees may hesitate to fully engage AI. I don't know if I have experimented with a couple of AI coaches. I'm like, how much do I share with this? Think of a situation where the AI coach is talking to you as an employee and also talking to your manager as your manager. and it is, cooking up stories and making recommendations. I am not sure I really want to trust AI, because I can't say that, oh, you are unethical. No. So that's one area that I really thought we might want to be mindful of. So yeah, now that I've recounted what might the challenges be, a quick couple of lines on how can L&D folks be mindful while embracing AI. I'm definitely for embracing AI, but keeping a few things in mind might really help. One, know that AI reflects biases in training data. L&D leaders must ensure that the data they are using to train their people is fair, is inclusive, is more holistic. Source ideas from L&D, but AI, but please vet it before you present it out to your audience. AI should support, but can't replace human learning experiences. So that balance between AI and human interaction, I think, is a big thing that I would want all of us to keep in mind, and be transparent about how AI data collects, stores, and uses employee information. Will my learning data be presented to my manager and say, oh, she hasn't learned this completely and hence don't promote her? I don't know. I'll be very nervous about all of this information in the hands of AI. AI model needs regular evaluation to ensure that they really align with the organizational goals and the employee needs. So that's one space where it's not a once bought and done forever kind of a thing. We need to keep on thinking how to upgrade our AI models to ensure that it continues to be relevant for our organization, etc. And last one, digital fatigue. I know AI is still online. I still have to switch on my laptop. And unless it's as engaging as speaking to a person, I think it's going to be very, very tedious. With that, I will pause to see what questions you have, what thoughts you have, anything else you would want me to answer. Loving the comments in the text chat. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Rishali.
Yeah, so not a question really, but more on comment. We will definitely need to work on the biases, right? When we are using the AI tools. And in that context only, I have mentioned the Netflix documentary. So for my organization, yeah, it's amazing. The way they have given traffic camera examples and recruiting examples, okay? Yeah. So obviously we need to make sure that even the AI tools are all inclusive and embracing diversity, equity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be a long journey because currently AI is using the data that's available on the internet, and nobody has passed every single piece of information to ensure it's non-biased. So yeah, it's a long journey. I'm hoping we will get there someday.
Yeah. The more the contributions to the database, the smarter the tool gets, right? Simple.
Yeah.
Shanti, shall we open it up to more questions? If anybody has any questions, guys, please feel free. We have some time, so Renita, please go ahead. You can unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Shanti, for that beautiful insight. I definitely echo the fact that yes, when you use AI, you have to be absolutely careful because the language can be quite robotic. And before I proceed further, so I am right now managing the global learning and development for Zafin. Prior to that, I was in McKinsey for over 2 decades. So whatever you are sharing is highly resonating for me. But largely, what I have as a question is more in terms of I have a little difference of thought when it comes to AI because I see it as a very reliable tool when it comes to moving your work faster. But at the same time, the context clarity is very important for you, right? So is there any advice you can provide to the learning professionals here in terms of as much as you're embracing AI, how can we make sure that it is very contextually driven and really solving some of the key business problems that you're trying to solve through learning interventions?
Lovely. And you hit the nail on its head, Renita, by saying AI is a great support tool to speed in or fasten what we are doing, not to replace what we are doing. Yeah, I use AI day in and day out. Yeah, I actually have gone to AI and said, I'm curating a workshop on mentorship, and these are the 3 styles of mentorship. Can you please give me video clips that highlight this particular style? If I had to go on YouTube and search for it, I'll probably take an entire half a day. Yeah. But ChatGPT gave these to me instantly. Of course, I went and validated and I said, okay, not clear. Can you give me a Bollywood movie clip? It gave me that, So those, I still have to work on it, but not half a day. In 1 hour, all my videos were ready. So it does help you speed, but that human intervention where you validate what it is giving you is important. So I am with you totally. We cannot ignore AI, but we have to be mindful as we are partnering with AI.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that question.
Thank you so much, Shanti.
Welcome. Simrat, you have your hand up.
Hey, hi, Shanti. Excellent insights and love the conversation that's happening here. I've been in learning development close to 6 years now. Prior to this, almost a decade experience in operations. So the grass is never greener. It has
yes.
its own, learnings on the way. One question, while it is easier to do predictive analytics or other intelligence tools for technical skill enhancements, however, there are these behavioral skills that we teach through conduct, any tested proven methodologies to see how we can assess and return on investment. How do we what are those certain tools, or maybe I'm not able to articulate it in the best possible manner, but yeah, I'd love to know from through your experience, and others can also share, how do we do effectiveness for these behavioral skills workshops that we do at a leadership level or at a associate at a fresher level also. Yeah, we do tons of workshops and we want to give them back, but how do we assess to ensure what has been taught is taken and it has had an impact?
You can't behavior, I know this is off topic question and off topic response. Yes, but behavior you can't measure in numbers. Yeah, behavior is something that is observed, and hence a pre-observation and a post-observation, post the learning intervention is the only way to measure. Now, how do you observe? Do you interview people who work with this team member, or do you do a survey pre and post? Are you doing some assessment that gives you, this is how this employee said they will react in this particular situation, and this is how the needle has moved post the intervention? Though that we can, decide based on how much money we have, how much time we have, what kind of expertise we have. However, because it is an observed thing that you can't tie it to numbers. You want to hold your nose from behind, we can tie numbers, but that still is not the most effective way. I can go on and on about ROI. I'll be mindful of time. And since it's off topic, let's connect offline.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Shanti.
Shanti, just want to add something what you said for this question.
Yes, please.
Right. So, like Rohin talked about AI coaches that are available, right? So, they are primarily used nowadays for primarily the soft skills, right? So, meaning you could try communication, for example, right? You try speaking, so it will talk about whether you are. It can give you inputs, right? It can give you feedback, right? Yeah. So while many of the soft skill program may not have immediate opportunities to apply, right? Unless you are in a specific sales role or a specific role that was training was for, it is usually generally applied across. So for us to test it, I think the quicker way and scalable way is these coaches, right? I mean, while they are still progressing, we are having the initial set of coaches coming in, but I am sure in the future we will have even more better things for us to try it out. That's just want to add that.
Totally. Yeah, AI will evolve and we will have to match its pace and evolve with AI. Totally agree. Go ahead, Renita. Renita, you have a question?
Sorry, I was speaking, me being in mute. So sorry about it. No, talking more or less on the same lines of the Digi Coach concept, So clearly something that I have probably tried it out in McKinsey as well as experienced in McKinsey is this whole concept where all these simulations which used to happen with a human intervention was translated completely to a concept known as avatar. And this avatar will interact with you exactly how a human would interact, but it's creating a safe space for you to try out things and what you are good at and what are some of the areas where you can improve further goes then back as a report to the learning and development team, which is a solid insight that you can draw to see how some of these learnings are translating to behavioral changes.
Yeah.
So that's another example which I thought
build on to
rudimentary.
Simrat's build on to
Exactly.
Simrat's question, where it is still not, though AI is observing, it is still an observed thing. That's why I was saying that behavior is measured through observation. That was the only thing. Abhay, how much time do we have?
Shanti, we are a little over already, so
I will pause.
Yeah, so I've actually, from my perspective, I'd actually thrown the watch out. So, if we are good, then we can probably move into the next session, which is, the panel discussion again hosted by Shanti. I'll invite back Srinivasan sir as well as Vaibhav to also, come back on video. The next topic for the panel discussion is blending AI with emotional intelligence, designing holistic L&D strategies. Right. So with that, Shanti, again, I'll give it back to you. You can take it over. And in fact, if you want to just introduce the folks once again, because I did a very high level thing. Over to you. You can take it the way you want.
Okay. In fact, I had put in our common group that since the two of you have been introduced, I'm not going to introduce. Yeah, let's use that time in discussions is what I was hoping we could do. I still can't see Vaibhav. Is his internet and everything? You're there.
Yeah, I'm right. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So let me first start by posing a question to Srini. Srini, while we all know AI can automate and a lot in the space of learning, how do we ensure that the human emotion touch points are still very well integrated through the learning journeys?
Right, yeah. So while AI is making most of our jobs easier, so what does it mean? It is going to give you some more time, right? So anything that is giving you more time, let's use it on something which is more important, right? So while AI is doing all this, at the end of the day, our learners are still humans, right? So if you can't do machine learning, we have to do engage with them. So I would like to quote on Clark Quinn. He's a thought leader in the learning design. He talks about three emotions that we need to be monitoring and managing with the learners for a more effective and impactful program. Right. First one is about motivation. I'll just touch about the three things and then I'll get in detail about it. One is motivation. Second is anxiety. And the third is about confidence. Okay. The first one, in terms of motivation, we need to manage them before, during, and sometime even after. Okay. So primarily before the program. So before the program, we need to tell them why we are doing this training for them, what's in it for them, what opportunities they will get through at the end of this program, right? Then how is it going to help them in the long-term career, not just a next opportunity alone, right? So we give them a lot of those inputs and talk about some success stories if you've done it for the previous batches, right? So that we give them enough information and confidence that we have done our homework and that is going to help them. So that takes care of that. No, they start with some good motivation levels, right? And then during the program, right? While people may got convinced, right? Maybe some may be fully convinced, some may be partially convinced with our inputs. They start the program with at least a neutral or a positive view. But during the program, what happens is some of them start losing interest because it could be distractions, right? So you may start a program for cloud, for example. Somebody comes and tells them, right? No, why are you learning cloud? It's all over. You have to be learning something on AI, right? So this is irrelevant to you. So somebody comes and confuses them. These guys may get into that and they say, okay, maybe it's not for me. So they start losing interest and they get distracted. Sometimes it could be their score, meaning how they are, their assessment scores, how they compare with the others in the team. They feel they will be judged. They are a little worried. Maybe they may have a repercussion if they're not doing well in the program. A lot of those kind of things, right? So we need to be doing constant pulse surveys at least once a week with them to understand where they stand and clarify if they have any doubts. And also tell them that you are not alone, right? So even the previous batches and the other learners are also going through something similar, but we will come out of it. So don't worry. So we are there to support you. So just give them that confidence and thing to support them during the thing also, right? And while going towards the end of the program, we should also start connecting them with people who are going to provide them the opportunities where they are going to be getting in by end of the program, right? So just walking the talk, right? Telling them that no, we didn't say what we were saying, right? It is happening. So they get more confidence to because the last mile is usually the difficult part, right? People say, okay, I'm 80% done, I'm done, right? So keeping that last minute thing also very important. So those three things is what I feel can take care of the motivation part, right? Then the second emotion is anxiety, right? With so much information today, all of us are so, the anxiousness is so high on and like including senior people like all of us. We're very anxious about what is happening now, what is coming up, how is it going to change what I'm doing today? Will I have a job tomorrow? There are so many necessary, unnecessary things that is going on. So anxious is something which people are, which we have to focus on, right? So this again, before, during, primarily we should do, right? So before the program, right, we should say, basically give them confidence that this is, again, very business aligned. We will give you enough support, the kind of support system they will have if they're going through some challenges, right? So if we can give them all those inputs and then, so they get them confidence. So they have all information also, meaning how long is the program, how are we going to assess them, right? And then also very clearly tell them we are not going to judge them based on this, right? So you go to this program and if you're able to succeed, you get these opportunities. If not, it's okay, right? You have an opportunity to upskill yourself and then you can take this program one more time. So there's nothing really, you're not going to lose anything, right? Right, yeah. So that's
thanks, Srini. So how do you ensure emotions are managed through a learning journey? Ensure they are motivated pre, during, post the session, anxiety is maintained during and post the session, and you're building confidence beyond once they've learned and continue to retain that. I have a further question for you, but I'll first bring in Vaibhav into the conversation. Sure. So Vaibhav, as AI takes on a more personalization, I don't know what to call it, in learning, it has the potential to act as a coach. It has the potential to guide learners through its tailored experiences. However, there's a fine line between helpful support and over-reliance on these technologies. So my question to you is, in what ways can AI act as a coach to personalize learning experiences? And where do you see the need to be cautious about over-reliance on AI?
Sure. Thank you very much, Shanti. But before I could answer that question, once again, thank you everybody who's joined in. And please excuse the technical challenges that happened. Everything is settled now, and I'm back. So, Shanti, addressing this question here, see, coaching comes at a cost. Learning comes at a cost, and if we are getting anything for free, we need to know that we are the product. right? And if we are the product, then we got to pay the price, right? In what ways are we paying the price is what we got to be cautious about. A lot of times, what people do is that they tend to assign these human traits to non-human beings, like seeing faces in mountains or clouds. And we see that happening in almost all the houses these days that have Alexa. I see kids talking to Alexa and being angry on Alexa, right? Or when they are upset, going and talking to Alexa and asking Alexa, how do I do things with my mom or dad? Something that I've seen my kids doing. Yeah. Likewise, when we think about AI, if we are using any free version of AI, we got to be very cautious. And these are the caveats before I even address how learning can be reinforced through AI. So AI as friend, AI as coach. Before that, remember that AI is an application being controlled by somebody who is working for a for-profit organization, and be mindful what changes are happening at a senior leadership level in the organizations that are running AI, like Jeffrey Hinton, who's considered to be the godfather by speaking against AI, or
Yeah.
Sam Altman quitting OpenAI upon the disagreements about using the user information in what way. So be very careful, be very mindful what you're feeding to the AI, what you're sharing with the AI coaches, right? So that's the caveat that I wanted to put forth, so that you know that when this phenomenon of anthropomorphism hits you, you are safeguarded. So now talking about how AI can be seen as a friend, right? So while you're cautious about it, there are several applications out there in the market, right? One of them is Rocky.ai, ROCKY. I tried
Yeah.
using it. Yeah, I couldn't sustain it very long because the amount of information that was being thrown back at me for the questions that I was posing, it became quite prescriptive in nature over period, and that got me a feeling that maybe my profile is being built in a manner that may put me on a spot someday. So I got to be cautious about it. But yeah, some simple answers to questions like, okay, my manager. If there is a person whose manager has done something, or if there is a person whose team member has done something, so how do I address these situations, or how do I address these scenarios, is where you get a perspective from AI. What AI would do here when AI acts as a coach is will go back, look from the gazillion data pointers that this AI has, and will build something that may seem relevant to you. And when you get that data, be mindful of it that this is coming from millions of data pointers, and there may seem a relevance, but I need not rely on it forever, right? So
Yeah.
something that also happened with the technological adaptation when mobile phones came in. I remember 2004, 2005 is the first time I got my phone. Back in the day, I had about not less than 20 mobile phone numbers that I would remember. And today it's only two, my wife's and my mom's. That's it, right? No other
Yeah.
mobile number. Yeah. So likewise, when we are moving into this era of AI becoming an integral part of humans in about the next 10 years or 15 years, that's a minimum amount of time that I see AI taking to reach a point where it starts. There's this concept of co-intelligence emerging. So that
Yeah.
co-intelligence
Yeah.
would emerge in not less than about 10 to 15 years. And while it is emerging, you got to be able to ensure that you safeguard your privacy, and still reap benefits by asking questions in a manner that you're not giving away all the personal details, right? And not start seeing AI as another human, and start discarding humans, right? So there are human coaches, wonderful
Yeah.
coaches like Shanti out there, right? They are the people who would really help you, and and AI could give you a perspective, right? So be mindful of that.
Lovely perspectives. Thank you, Vaibhav. I am going to come back to you, Srini, and picking up from the previous answer you said, yes, it is evident that emotions play a very critical role in turning influencing how knowledge is absorbed. And you mentioned Clark Quinn and how he has emphasized the need to track factors like motivation, anxiety, and confidence for successful outcomes. So my question to you is, how can AI tools be designed to effectively detect and respond to these emotional cues throughout the learning journey?
Yeah. So when it comes to AI, the feeling all of us have is, while it can do a lot of things from the left brain, the right brain side of it is something it's not good at, right? Meaning it probably cannot understand your emotions and all of that. So after your question, I was
So
actually
far,
talking to,
so far,
yeah,
that's my
true,
worry.
yet, true, yeah, yet,
Yet.
yes, right, yeah. But I was talking to a couple of people who are doing some groundbreaking work on AI yesterday, right? After the questions you got, trying to ask this question: do you think AI will be able to understand my emotions? Right? Then I was giving the context of what we are trying to ask. Then and said yes, right? Technically, it is possible, right? But again, today's coaches or tutors are primarily text-based, right? Maybe some have some audio, right? So the emotions of a person you see primarily through your voice and your video, right? Meaning your facial expressions or some of that, right? So if your tutors and coaches can become more of audio and videos, probably that's a good data point for us to understand your emotions, right? So we need to build a model which can interpret based on your what your emotion you're going through. But technically, it is possible, is what I understood. But we are not there yet, right? We are not there yet. So till we get there, I see we should use AI and other technologies to address it. For example, a simple survey to check out how they are doing on all these three parameters every week, and then see if they are rating something low. Get in touch with them to understand what more and how we can help them, right? And then create some community channels, because when we run some learning programs, we anyway have some community channels. Based on how they react, how they respond, how they're active, you can also get to know what they're going through, right? So you can get some clues, right? We could use some of these technologies to cut down. You can basically, you don't have to go and do this to everybody, right? So maybe you can identify the 30% who needs help and get on to them and support them, right? So it's still going to be blended technical plus human, but I think future may hold more for AI and other technologies.
Yeah, last year I learned this term physical plus digital together. So that's what you're indicating. Thank you. Thank you. So Vaibhav, coming back to you, as AI becomes more integrated into learning environments, it is increasingly stepping into the roles once which were reserved for humans. A coach and mentor were one that when you think of a coach, it is a human coach that used to come to our mind. While this opens up exciting possibilities of scalability and personalization, now if with AI coach, you can actually coach the entire organization in one go, but it also raises other concerns. So my question to you is going to be, as AI begins to take these traditional roles of mentors, coaches, instructors, how can organizations maintain transparency with their learners, avoiding blurring these ethical boundaries?
Sure. One interesting question, Shanti. Now, the first thing is education, awareness. This gives me a perspective. While you were talking about it, I was thinking about my compliance team, right? Yeah. So how is it that you draw the line where when we think about us using AI to create or to simplify or to automate our tasks, right? There's this phenomenon which is at play right now, which is called secret task automation, wherein the users are using AI to automate their task when it comes to all the baseline knowledge tasks, where I need to write an email or I need to prepare a report or whatnot. And this is happening. Maybe the supervisors are aware, supervisors are not aware, but definitely the compliance team may not be aware. So that's something that so that's one thing that I see educators coming to the fore, the learning and development professionals coming to the fore and proposing it to the leadership that, hey, our users are anyway going to be using AI. They're anyway going to be taking assistance in carrying the tasks that they're doing. So why not educate them and ensure that strict compliance policies are put in place? They're aware of it. Having said that, now as educators or as instructors, instructional designers, facilitators, trainers, what we also need to be aware of is, like you mentioned, Shanti, a little while ago, that while you were designing training for one of or modules and trying to look for video, you took assistance from AI. I have seen a lot of now newer tools coming up, like Beyond for that matter, something that we
Mm.
are also using. And we feed it information that, hey, this is a challenge that is happening. And just giving an example, that people do not show gestures of respect to their seniors when
Mm.
they approach them on the floor. What could be
Mm.
done about it? And then AI, uh, it's still in its nascent stages, development stages. Throughout a video that said that, hey, this is what you would be doing and this is what you need to be doing. The educators also need to be mindful and aware that while they are creating content and when the learners are consuming content, giving the learners an idea that, hey, this is AI created content. Like on in movies, when we watch smoking is injurious to health, whenever there is a smoking scene coming up, right? If there is any AI generated content, we also need to ensure that we
Call
put
it
some
out.
kind of disclaimer, right? So this gives the
Sure.
learners a perspective that, hey, this is the segment that has been generated by AI, and then the learner becomes mindful of what level of reliance do they put in when they're consuming that content and putting it into use.
Vaibhav, I just want to add to what you're saying. Yesterday I was reading something. So it is just the opposite. So this is human created is what is going to be the future. So because anyway, anybody is going to
Human.
be AI.
Yeah,
The
right.
human created with support from AI. Oh, I love that. I love that. Yeah.
That's where
One
co-intelligence will
final,
be dominating. Yeah.
yeah. One final question to both of you before we open it up to the floor for questions. How can we, the L&D folks, design L&D strategies that not only scale efficiently, but also prioritize human connections? And pick whatever aspect of this you would want to answer, and then we open up the floor for questions from the audience.
Hey, yeah, you may want to take this up to start with.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, so we are using technology, no, primarily to scale, right? So scale is what we are looking at, right? But also let's prioritize human connection that we talked about in the so far in the discussions, right?
Yeah.
Ensuring that learners feel supported, motivated, and all that, right? So I'm as I told earlier. So let's look at a blended approach, right? Which is like AI plus EA with like a 70-30 or a 60-40, depending on what works for you in your organization for the specific kind of skills that you're looking at, right? Let's all get excited by AI, right? There's while some of it we always keep talking about get excited by AI. There's also a lot of worry in portion of people that no, will AI take my jobs and all that. Let's all excited by it. It is like an internet. It is like a mobile phones that happen, right? So whenever you have anything new, you're always having that questions in your mind. While this is much more impactful than many of the earlier technologies. But I think it is only good to go with a very positive mindset and embrace it and start learning. Start learning AI and start using it. More you use it, more it becomes easier. It becomes part of you. I think that is something I will encourage everybody, right? Make people confident and less anxious with the support that I talked about earlier. And let's all do it together, like because as Rohin was saying, let's not have different teams working together. So let's whether it's a no it's a HR team, the employee engagement team, the learning team, all of us need to come together and make this happen. It's all one team, right? So that's
Absolutely.
how I see it. Yeah.
Right.
Lovely.
Just
Thank you, Shin.
adding on to
Yeah.
this. So I was watching one of Sam Altman's interviews, or it was apparently an article I was reading, wherein he mentioned that my kids will never be able to become smarter than AI, right?
Yeah.
And right? And that's and this is coming from a person who's seen as a person playing a pivotal role in shaping the way the world will be in the future with all the technology and AI coming in. Um, Here's where I would like to bring our focus to something that's addressing your question, Shanti. How is it that we don't miss out on the connection? If we look at our Aadhaar card, right, all of us, at the bottom there's a line mentioned. It says "Mera Aadhaar, Meri Pehchan" or "My Aadhaar, My Identity," right? So it's very important for us to ensure that when humans are contributing something over the years, it may start happening that in most things that we are doing, there would be AI assistance that will be taken. So where does my contribution come in? And we see that there is this innate human struggle for attention, for recognition, right? And if everything is or every task is where AI contribution is coming, how do we also get credit and give credit to the human aspect of it, right? And that's where
Yeah.
yeah, post training, it's necessary that we have these channels where humans are able to connect and share. One thing that AI or any other technology cannot take away from us is our ability to feel and make others feel the way we make them feel, right? And that's something
Lovely.
that where this component comes in, that after training, how work is getting done, but along with work, what kind of workforce we are creating, what values we are creating within the workforce, and what contribution do these humans have in creating those values is something that we need to continually give credit to people. And that's where, when they are getting that recognition, as a human, what value did you contribute in creating or co-creating the kind of ecosystem or the workforce or the products that we are creating? That needs to be very important as well.
Lovely. So AI is revolutionizing L&D. It can help us scale coaching, content creation, design, delivery, etc. But it isn't just about that knowledge transfer. It is about the human emotions, motivation, confidence, Srini, and it is easy for us to get carried away. And we need to hold back on that getting carried away and uh, not, we should not be risking losing what makes learning truly transformational. With that, I already see a couple of hands up in the
Shanti, Abhay here.
Pranath. Yes.
Shanti, due to paucity of time, can I request that we can hold some of these questions and we will go right back to a
Absolutely.
full-fledged Q&A at 12:15 or so. We will have 15-20 at that time, and then we'll open it to a full-fledged Q&A. I think that might be better. And we'll have more sort of open time.
Done. Okay with you, Vaibhav and Srini?
Yeah, thank you, Shanti, thank you, Vaibhav.
So
Thanks to
I'll
everyone
be
for
bringing
listening.
you. I'll be bringing you right back. All of the panelists and Shanti, all of you who are here. We'll be bringing you right back in the next few minutes. So Vaibhav and Shanti, I'll request you guys to please don't go anywhere.
Right here.
So, guys, with that, I want to bring on Sabhi Kidwai, who is the Director of Learning Solutions at Talent Management and OD at Schneider Electric Greater India. Right. Sabhi Kidwai is a strategic HR and L&D leader with a passion for unlocking potential and driving business transformation. As the Director of Learning Solutions, at Schneider, he leads innovative learning initiatives and that align talent strategies with business goals. With the leadership experience at Schneider and Rockwell Automation before that, Sabhi has been instrumental in shaping OD culture, leadership development, and HR transformation. So with that, everyone, I will hand it off to Sabhi Kidwai. Sabhi sir, you can go ahead and take it forward. I will just take 5 seconds to spotlight you and remove others from the spotlight, and then you can take it forward, sir.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, set up the slider thing.
Thank you. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir, very much.
Wonderful. With all the technology and all that we're talking about, I'm still struggling with my internet since today morning, and I'm not able to log on through my laptop. I'm doing this with my phone today, so please bear with me for this. Vaibhav, I see you frozen on the screen at the moment, but are
Don't
you
worry, Sabi.
you
Yeah,
can?
right. So I think, Sabi, I tried to figure where the problem was, and one thing that I figured was that with the security features that Microsoft is putting in, my Teams account, which is connected with my official account, isn't allowing me on my system, and that may be one of the challenges with some of us as well. So I have logged in from my phone and
Uh,
quite well
both
now,
of us,
right?
yeah, had similar challenges. Yes. So, nevertheless, wonderful. I'm so glad to be here and with you and Shanti today to build on this conversation. I won't take too long, but I just wanted to take a few moments, and in this time, I would request Vaibhav if you could get the quiz ready for
Sure,
what we
sure.
to
Definitely.
do here for everyone. So, friends,
The
I
poll
know
is ready.
you've been hearing a lot of views about how is this technology disrupting the way we live and we learn. But what we wanted to do now was that we also wanted to simultaneously engage you in this conversation and understand and hear from you how are you experiencing it and what do you think about it. So that's what Vaibhav has helped put together an interesting way of keeping you engaged throughout the conversation since the very beginning. And both Shanti and Vaibhav and myself would try and interject and would also build in our context and our understanding of it, and would be happy to share anything else that you want us to talk about with the experiences that we have in this field as we have been working for a while. In this, one thing that I really wanted to talk about, and before we open the tool for all of you, one thing that I wanted to highlight about is an analogy that I've been using often when I talk about this shift that is happening. See, the world around has changed, and you all know it, and you've been using it. I've been hearing some conversations here also that with all the artificial intelligence and machine learning and the tools and that are available and apps and agents that are available to help us, we've really changed the way we work. And that is not going to change. So it is not going to revert back. We would never go back to the old ways of doing things. That's something that we must understand and adapt to. And the analogy that I use for this is that I don't know how many of you still have interest in the game of hockey, the field hockey that we play in India, which is our national game, by the way. Sometimes I get questioned by my kids when I ask them this that okay, hockey is a national game. They won't believe that hockey is a national game. I also remember going to buy hockey for my kids. I insisted that you must play hockey, and we will go and buy a hockey stick for you. I found it difficult finding hockey sticks in the sports shops because there are hardly any people who play it. But the analogy that I wanted to bring is very interesting. India and the subcontinent India and Pakistan in particularly, we were the the champions of hockey for many years. And if you've heard the name of Major Dhyan Chand, he was considered to be a magician in the field with hockey. So he would play it so beautifully, he would dribble the ball so beautifully that it appeared as if his the ball is stuck to his stick and it does not move away from his stick, and he's able to dribble it and move around the field and hit it to the goal so beautifully that many times the other teams felt that he had a magnet in his hockey stick. But dribbling was the game. That's how the game was played then. Then came the astroturf. Astroturf is the artificial grass in which the hockey is played. This is much more faster. The ball moves much quicker, and the game started to change. Germans, England, Belgians, Netherlands, they changed the game. Hockey was never the same after the AstroTurf, and they started. I mean, you won't be able to get the ball to dribble it because what they did was this became a play of shots and deflections. So one would hit the ball so hard it would move fast across the field. Someone would just deflect it to pass it on to someone else, and they would move the ball very quickly and hit it into the goal. That's the way the game changed after AstroTurf. We, for many years, as sports community and as the world champions of the game, did not accept it. We continued playing hockey in the old ways of playing hockey. So we continued dribbling it, and we lost into the ranking, and we were nowhere for finally. So till last few years recently, when we realized that there is no going back. No matter how good we were in that game, the game has changed forever. We will have to play the new game, and we will have to learn to play the new game in the new way, including the way we used to play before. So we combined dribbling but with the power play, the way the Germans and the Belgians play, and that's the reason that you see us moving up in the ranking again in the game. That's the analogy that I really wanted to share about technology and the way we work. We will have to learn how do we combine the two and play it in the new way. And if we don't do it, we would lose it. Those who won't do it would lose it like we were losing it for many years. With that context, let me pull you all into this conversation. And Vaibhav, if I can request you to please put on screen the QR or the link with which everyone will be able to join the conversation.
Sure, sure. Well, while I try to find that QR, this is something that we all can do. We can go to slido.com, which is SLIDO, slido.com. You type into the browser, and once you type slido.com into your browser, all that you need to do is type in a code. It'll ask for a code. The code is Stalwart, STALWART. I thought of.
Is it all small? All small, Weber?
S uppercase. STALWART.
So Vaibhav is hand-holding us into using technology to learn.
Right.
Thank
While
you
while
for
technology is
demonstrating it
posing a
right
challenge
away,
for me.
Vaibhav.
Yeah. Yeah. The slido.com, and when you type in slido.com, it'll ask you for a code. The code is STALWART. And you'd be able to see the poll right there. The first question.
And Vaibhav, do you want to,
Five.
would you be able to project your screen so that all of us can see?
Yes. Trying to do that in a moment. While my team pops back up on my system. But yeah, we've started getting responses, Sabi, just so you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that on.
Let me share. Let me share my screen.
Oh, that'd be great, Shanti. Right.
So friends, you are responding to the first question.
Yes, so we got 18 responses already.
Wonderful. Yes. I see this. Thank you. Wonderful.
Shanti, maybe zoom out a little more. Yeah, I think this is better.
Sure.
All right. So the question was that in your organizations, how are you already using digital? And I see most of the organizations are in the middle, where they're almost 50% using digital for learning. And this is interesting. And this shift, as I was talking about, is for good. I don't think it is going to go back ever. But Shanti and Vaibhav, how have you seen this shift in your organization? So Shanti, you may want to come first and share how are you seeing this shift, and what are some interesting observations that you have from your experience?
Sure. I am now an L&D consultant, so not from my organization perspective. We
Yeah.
are a 6-member team, so I'll go from the organization
Yeah.
that I go and deliver these learning interventions for. I think there, I do see this play, this 50-50, a lot of requests for hybrid training. Some of us are trainees will be there in the training room itself. Some of them will be on Zoom or Teams, and then we are conducting one single workshop with activities, interaction between everyone. So I think I can definitely see that transition happening very, very evidently. I have delivered sessions where me and the leader have been in the room in one meeting room and the rest of the audience have been virtual. So it's been those combinations of where the facilitator is sitting versus where the entire set of participants sitting is definitely that shift is happening. Because people are working remote, people are working hybrid, and that's the way they want to learn also. At the same time, I also hear a lot about digital fatigue. Oh my God, 6 hours of Zoom or 4 hours of Zoom, this is too much. That also I have started hearing. So yes, I think that's where people are trying to create that balance. Let's not do everything digital. Let's bring in that balance of digital as well as in person.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. We had the pendulum had moved extreme to the other end,
Yeah.
and we had to calibrate. So this calibration is happening at the moment. Weber, when you see
Sure.
this happening, what are some struggles? And like Shanti said, people are also expressing fatigue on too much of screen time and too much of digital learning, or the effectiveness of digital learning. What are you hearing, and what are some of the most prominent things that you think that needs to be addressed?
Right. So, Sabi, before I address this question, I just wanted to share one of the experiences that we got to hear from one of our learners who joined us from another organization. So,
Mhm.
mine is not mine. The organization that I represent falls into MSME. We got about 3,500 of our people operating from multiple geographies. About 30 to 40% of them operating from the US, and about 60% of us operating from the offshore regions. And when this person joined from another organization, this was a big organization, a huge organization, about 70, 80,000 employees. And and the experience that I got to hear from the person after the person attended a couple of programs that we had was that, Weber, here I like it here. I like the learning and development that is happening here. And I said, in what ways? And the person said that in my previous organization, most of it was online. The content was being pushed onto us, links were being shared. Attend this and complete this training and that training. But here, most of it is instructor led. So here, that human connection, I feel that my questions and queries are getting addressed by a human, and the person understands me and gives me perspective in this context, in this organization's context. So when it comes to the delivery part, we have ensured that 80% of our learning man hours that we receive are instructor led. So 36,000 is what Abhay mentioned earlier, from about 3,000 people. So about 80% of our learning man hours come from all these instructor-led training. There have been times when my trainers, they have reported fatigue, that, hey, Weber, we are going into training and we're training, and that is causing some sort of burnout. But along with that, they also share that this is what also keeps us on our toes and gives us what we need. So we ensure that the trainers that we bring in are the people who are passionate to talk to people, talk to others, connect with others, and help others become a better version of themselves. So that's a baseline value that we ensure we keep into mind when we bring our trainers, when we onboard our trainers. Um 20% of the learning that is happening, which comes in the form of digital format, that is seen. It has been noted that it is on the uprise. So in the last 3 years, from 5% we have reached to 20%. While we were only getting a few hundred learning man hours, now it's gone into a few thousand. And this change or this shift or drift has been seen predominantly because we also have learners who want some sort of freedom, that if I'm laying on my bed after I go home, or maybe on a lazy Sunday afternoon, I want to review what was done in the training session, or I want a question to be addressed. Do we have something that is available on the learning platforms that we have? So that's something that we keep in mind. So while we curate these learning experiences, whether it is digital or instructor led, our primary focus is instructor led, and digital is seen as something to support and help people fill in those hours that they see as non-productive. Or so instead of death scrolling on Facebook or Instagram, they have some place where they can get relevant responses to the questions that they have when they're working to make their work life easy.
Right, right, and thank you for bringing this, and I also touch upon what Shanti said. See, the and where I started the whole conversation from, the game has changed. When the game changed, and let me bring an honest confession. So when I was to train people digitally and virtually, what I the first thing that came very naturally was because I've trained myself and I took pride in the fact that I could connect with audience and I can speak with eloquence and I know the subject, blah blah blah. I got them all on a call, and then I started with same 20-30 slides, and I was speaking and speaking and speaking them to death, and only to realize a little later that the game has changed. So it does not have to be the same way. It is a very different ball game. It is a different skill that needs to be built, a new muscle that has to be built for our people to be able to play it in the new way on the astroturf, as using the analogy that I was talking about. So it requires very different skills. We will have to. There is power in what you said, Vaibhav, with the asynchronous learning. So now my learning reach is much more. Someone who's in US, someone who's in Australia, someone who's in Singapore, and someone who's in India can all learn the same content and at their own pace. And that is the power of this. And the learning has evolved. We can't continue holding it back to the same schools. Everyone is learning. By the way, they're watching LinkedIn videos, they're watching TikTok videos, they are playing games. They're all learning. They're all
Right.
learning, and we continue to hold that old school of teaching where I am the person who knows it all, and I'm the one who would tell it all. It's a wrong uh, approach. So this had to change, and that's what is happening in the organization. Organizations are realizing it. So it's not just about bringing the same content, same instructors, same approach to a virtual screen, but a new way of interacting and engaging, like what you're doing here and now. This is
Right.
this is still learning happening, and you are helping everyone else learn and me learn in this process. Let's move to the next question, everyone.
Sure. Well, before we move on to the next question, just also wanted to let others know that, hey, are you able to see the screen, guys?
We do,
You might be
we
able
do.
to see the right. So
Yes.
there might be a code. There might be a barcode on the screen as well. I see only about 28 of us responded. So I'm hoping that others who are not able to respond now would be able to just open your phone's camera and scan the code.
Thank you, Vaibhav. Thank you.
Vaibhav,
Okay,
I
I
am
am not
seeing.
able to see a blank screen.
Yeah, same, Shanti. Yeah, exactly.
Is it? I'm seeing a screen. I see a QR code on the left hand corner,
Wow.
Oh, okay.
and a beautiful image in between, and the graph of the responses on the right side.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
6 of us have responded. Yeah.
How many people
So
have
is it
responded? So the next question that Vaibhav has put on screen is: do you believe AI-powered learning can be as effective as human-led learning training in developing soft skills like leadership, communication, etc.? And 80% of us say a combination would be ideal, while 21% say that human interaction is essential, and this is not possible only by AI. And the last 5% say yes, AI can simulate real life scenarios. How many of us have responded, Weber?
21 of us have responded so far. Stubby, you'd be able to see on the top right, the number would be there.
Okay. That.
I think there also seems to be a 50-50 split. Just like our topic, there is a 50-50 split of the people who are able to see the screen
Who
and
can see,
who
who
are not
can't
able
see.
to see. Yeah, exactly.
All right. Interesting.
It's
It should come. It should come. Some of us are now seeing it. But
we've also put the QR code in the chat box for anybody who's not able to see. If they scan the QR code, they'll end up right at the poll.
Thank you, Abhay. All right. Now, but what I see here is the point that almost 80% of us think that it is going to be the combination of the two. Shanti, first, where do you uh, put in your vote, and then do you have some examples of this that you are using in your organization and your experience?
Yeah, it is a combination. My vote was also for a combination. Do I use AI in my learning? I gave an example when I was speaking earlier that I do use it for, movie quotes, movie snippets, relevant snippets, examples. When I don't have enough time to say, I want a real life case that has happened about this particular topic. Can you give me? And ChatGPT gives me some lots of reference. So do I use it? The answer is yes. But once I get some data, it is also about validating, going it back. And then, of course, what AI will do is pull up all the information from the internet, give me, 2 pages worth of very plastic sounding vocabulary. Yeah. And
Right.
then it is helpful, definitely helpful. It speeds up my time. But then I have to go back to those websites. This is pointed out, go back, research, read, and say, okay, I want to pick up this aspect and leave out the rest. I think it really helps me there. So definitely I am using AI. I've also seen organizations using a lot of this combination of AI powered tools versus this. In fact, an organization has done, I can't name it, their entire TNA is AI based. So everybody has been learning for the last 2 years. All of that data has been collected. It is also tracking everybody's development areas because they are inputting, saying, I need to be working on stakeholder management. I need to be working on receiving feedback. So all of that information is also there on the platform. So the platform this year is giving them data that these are the top 5 skills that your organization needs to build on at this level. So by level, there is bifurcation of skills that people need to build. And I was given that list and say, okay, Shanti, you need to now work on this. And I'm like, happily, I will do that. So it is a combination. So is AI helping in speeding things up? The TNA would have taken an entire quarter for L&D leaders to complete. The AI tool is already doing it for them, giving it to them in a ready to serve consume platter. And now they're wanting some human interventions to realize it. So what I have seen is, yes, it is a combination, and the graph that I'm currently seeing absolutely represents what I'm seeing outside in the industry.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right.
Weber?
Yeah, sure. So, Sabi, I would say I see this question in context, and it's contextual, I would say. So, right now, do I believe that AI-powered learning can be as effective as human-led training? In terms of technology training, in terms of leadership development training, in terms of trainings that require us to act or behave in a certain way, behavioral training. So, in terms of behavioral training, I don't see AI being capable enough at this point to even come close to the human driven learning. However, in terms of technology training, there have been several advancements. AI now building or generating codes for software. So technology led training, I see that AI is picking pace, but when it comes to all the behavioral development training, human driven learning is still holding on very tightly, and I don't know when it might be the time. Apparently, when AI takes over human race, maybe then things might be different, which would be in the distant future, apparently. But right now, I see that all the behavioral training, we need humans, or our trainers are the people, the go-to people who understand other humans at work. Organization to organization, things differ. The organization culture and the value system that prevail in organizations is what humans would be able to understand. In AI, I don't know. Even if we feed AI so much of data so that they understand humans as organizations, even then it might not be as much possible for AI to drive learning as our human counterparts would.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing both these perspectives. And I'm kind of uh, aligned to a great extent, but I'm on the borderline. So when you say that it is going to be in distant time, and not very much, it is already there. Let me give you a very interesting example. I am of late playing with an AI agent. When I say playing, is I'm kind of piloting and experimenting with it, which is an AI coach. An AI coach for a leader, for a manager. And I can tell you, it is giving me money for my run, because I thought I'm a certified coach. Coaching is something which is far away from, and it is the safest in terms of uh, people skills and HR skills that would get impacted by AI. But I'm telling you, it is giving me run for my money. uh, it is so beautifully capturing the conversations. It is so wonderfully using the principles of coaching to provoke conversations, to elicit more reactions, and then capturing them so beautifully. I'm enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm feeling threatened in some ways that this is going to take that thing. But I think, the more I'm playing with it, the more I'm realizing that it'll be a combination. It'll become a great help for coaches, for professionals, because it is able to so beautifully capture the conversations and points and summarize it, that I'm amazed. And it is I'm already seeing it. So it's not any distant future. It's here and now. And I can share more about it, but I'm enjoying it. So it will be a combination again. uh, I think in the interest of time, we could open it to any other questions that the audience have, or any other observations. I know we had some more questions, Weber, and thank you for putting it all together and putting it on the tool for all of us. But unfortunately, given the time, we may not be able to take all the other questions. But any other views before we open it up, Shanti and Vaibhav, for the audience? And I hand it back to Abhay uh, to please come in.
Sure. Yep. Yes.
Shanti?
Yeah, I think you've summarized it very well, Sabi. It is a combination. It is how both humans and AI learn how to work with each other and benefit from each other's strengths. I think that's where we are heading, and we'll go on. Weber, I will hand it over to him.
Vaibhav?
I'm sorry, am I still audible?
You are now.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Right. I'm sorry. I missed out on the last few seconds.
So no, we were just saying that any closing comments, observations that you have, we may not be able to play with all the questions that we had
Oh,
put
sure.
together.
Sure.
In the interest of time, but I thought if you would have some views that you would want to share with the audience before we open it up.
Sure. Well, I cannot, I'd say, disagree with what both of you have mentioned, that yes, co-creation or going hand in hand with AI is something that has started happening. Where I was coming from was the quality. Sabi, like you mentioned, that as a coach, AI does understand and is able to throw out questions. The unpredictable nature of human beings is what I was referring to. Yeah. I mean, learning in itself is quite innate and a human process. Now, machine learning has come into the play, so there is going to be a system. And where I was coming from was, one of these TV, OTT series that I watched back in the day, apparently a year or so ago, where it showed how first humans created humanoids and experimented with them, and then humanoids took over as they started learning more about the human emotions and started templatizing humans as like when I see myself today. If I start my day, there is a pattern that I could see. I go to work, I come back home, I play with my kids, we have dinner, we spend some family time, and we sleep and we wake up again. So there's this loop that I found myself caught up in, and that was defined by the societal norms that I'm following. And if there is somebody, or if ever it happened that I break the loop, and that pattern is broken, it made me uncomfortable. I tried doing that. Just a simple experiment that I tried was that instead of wearing my watch on my right hand, I wore it on my left, and that made me uncomfortable. It's something that a lot of humans do, and these humans then start being termed as outcasts. And that's where I was coming from. That no, today, even today, there are several times when um, we have people in the organizational context displaying or demonstrating behavior that is not seen as conducive to the well-being of the organization. I'm put at a hotel right now. Yesterday, there was a fight that broke between two staff members. Last night. So, and the reason was there was this person who said that I need to be fed, I'm hungry. And the other guy within the hotel said that no, you got to feed the guests first and then you eat food. And this resulted in quarrel. And one of the guys hit the other guy with a rod and ran away. Right. uh yeah, and I'm not saying that in organizations that's something happening, but in organization the emotional damage is seen on a regular basis. Somebody saying something to the other person that hurts the person at an emotional level, and then the feeling of animosity getting developed, the collaboration getting affected, and overall the quality of results that we are delivering getting affected. So this is something that AI may not be able to predict the change from the pattern. AI would be able to predict the pattern, would be able to suggest things that fit into a certain pattern, but the moment something happens out of the pattern, AI would need to then start learning again about humans.
Yeah.
So this is where I was coming, and that's where I see that maybe in the distant future, when AI develops to a point where it understands humans in all the ways possible, like one of these Marvel characters, the guy who can foresee the future and see all the combination, Doctor Strange, right? Yeah. So that predictive part
Yeah.
is still long ways what I was mentioning. Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Shanti, and thank you, Vaibhav, for very interesting conversation. And thank you, everyone, for your responses and engagement. Abhay, back to you to
Sure,
take this.
sir. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabhi sir. Thanks, Weber. Thanks, Shanti. So at this point, maybe what I would like to do is, Sabhi sir, I know you have already told me that you had a hard stop and we're already a little past that. Right. If you want to move out, we will not hold you. Right. I will, in the meantime, also request Srinivasan sir, if you're okay, I will bring you back into the spotlight. So we will still have panelists, Shanti, Vaibhav, and Srinivasan sir, to take up any additional questions that anybody might have. In fact, we've also received a few questions from participants over WhatsApp. So I will, post those questions to you as well. I'm sure some of the panelists are hearing those. And so let me put that first question across to you, right? And Sabi sir, maybe if you want to take it
Yeah.
before you move out, or if you want to move out, yeah, I'll leave that to you, you because I
My
know.
apologies. 12:30. I have to get into something else. So
Yes.
thank you very much, and apologies that I have to cut it short. I was enjoying this conversation, so happy to continue the conversation maybe later or on LinkedIn if someone is very keen. But thank you, and thank you, Srinivas, for filling in. I'm sorry. I will have to jump off from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thanks, Abhi.
Shanti, Vaibhav,
Thanks,
and
sir.
Srinivasan sir, I have you guys on Spotlight. So your basically three screens are what is visible to all the participants. We will at this point, guys, open it up to everybody. If you guys have any further questions, you can ask. The panelists, right? And in the meantime, I will just post one question forward, which we received from one of the participants of the session, right? And feel free, anybody can take it up, right? There was a question which kind of wanted the panelists, considering that we have some senior folks here, just to suggest some tools that they have been using or they could recommend in terms of let's say having tech or AI for doing some kind of TNAs, using tech and AI doing for the regular activities that we have across learning and development, but TNA was one of them that was mentioned prominently. So maybe if we can shed some light on it or where we are with TNA today.
I am not aware of any AI tool that does TNA, but EdCast, Degree, all of them do that comparison between the development goal and what the employee has worked on and developed with the assessments. So it gives you organizational level data of what are the top most wanted. That's a term that's coming to me. Skills that most people want to learn and where there are bigger gaps. That can be picked up by humans, by L&D teams, and then they'll need to use that as the basic information to complete their TNA. I'm not aware of any tool unless the two of you are.
Yeah, instead, in fact, Shanti, this is one gap that I also see in the market when it comes to TNA. And one of the prominent reasons for this gap is that there are these legacy tools that would be required because TNA is quite intimate in nature. In terms of the information that goes into TNA, there is a lot of organization-related data that would go into TNA. Currently surveys are and have been for a very long time the only way out. There are some. We recently reviewed about 10 different LMS platforms. And out of these 10 different LMS platforms, I can recommend maybe two or three of them. Some of them are quite cost effective for the organizations, and some of them a little on the higher end. So Cypher Learning is one of the platforms that I could suggest that will help you in conducting TNA. But again, onboarding and integration, all of it would be a time-consuming activity, and getting approvals on the cost would be a bigger task for our L&D leaders. The Indian tools, there's this platform, LMS and LXP platform called Tenio. One of my friends works there, heads the sales part. Tenio also has been doing a good job. And one of the most cost-effective ones that I could think of is Disperse. Now, all of these LMS and LXP platforms, I've seen them, and since the last 5 years, since we've been reviewing these LMS platforms and trying and testing out things ourselves in the organization where I'm at, have come a long way. What does the manager think about the team member? What does the team member think about themselves? What do the team members think about themselves? Whether the KPIs are being effectively achieved, the tasks being delivered, and all of it. The data can be fed into these tools, these LMSs and LXPs. So two categories that we currently have in market basis, what I see and I know of. One is all these survey tools like Culture Monkey, Survey Monkey, and the other one, and also there are these, Success Factors LMS has empaneled with some of them. So survey tools, number one, and the other one, LMSs and LXPs. They're now developing capability to help you conducting these LMS, but the TNAs. But like Shanti mentioned, most of it still needs to requires human intervention. Wherein,
correct.
Yeah.
From a TNA
You go and
perspective, I think
check.
tech is a little long way off, and you rightly pointed out actually the kind of data that is required for a TNA would be very challenging at this point to put inside an AI, because what level of personalized information do you want to share with the AI, right? So that goes back to the previous point that you did mention.
Right.
And the systems also don't speak to each other yet. Our HR systems, our performance systems, our LMS systems, they don't speak to each other yet.
Correct. Integrating them will become another big problem. In fact, the amount of time that you might actually spend doing the TNA with surveys and forms and personalized conversations might actually end up spending a little more time trying to get all the data together as well, I think.
Possible.
Srinivas, if you might want to add something there.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that's what I was.
Okay, I didn't have. I also not come across any AI tools. Personally, I feel this is one area where more of human intervention is required than AI. Because now, if we are talking about aligning with business more, so we need to be connecting, understanding the ask well to do this job better, right? So while there could be some automation that can happen through some of the surveys, some other things that Vaibhav mentioned, but I feel this is one area where it will be still more human than AI or automation, at least currently. Yeah.
So, audience, any
that's what I mentioned earlier.
Yeah, please.
Because training needs analysis is the starting point for even thinking about any kind of personalization, right? And yeah. So, like Shanti mentioned, that first thing that we might need to focus on and start considering as learning professionals is to start having channels or integrating these different systems, these HR systems. The manager recording the KPIs, or first things first, drafting these KPIs or helping managers become aware of how to draft these KPIs in a manner that the subjectivity could be reduced and more objective inputs can be embedded. And once that happens, I'll give you a very simple example. One of the KPIs for one of my team members is to conduct 5 cadence connects with the other departments on a monthly basis. Now that's black and white. 5 cadence connect happened, not happened. Now question becomes, how do I corroborate the quality of these cadence connects? And for that, the next KPI would be to have out of these 5 cadence connects that happened, deliver 6 new learning interventions or new performance improvement initiatives. Now, did that happen or not? And once the KPIs are connected to the LMS or the TNA part, that is where the magic starts happening. But before that, we as learning professionals need to start preparing ourselves for this new opportunity that we see. Abhay, back to you.
Yep. I was just unmuting myself. So, audience, any further questions that you might have for us, regarding L&D, regarding tech, regarding AI and L&D, please feel free to ask. We'll open it up to everybody. If you want to connect with any of the topics that we took up, or if you have a more generic question, I think the panelists here should be able to help perfectly. We have also put just a very small feedback form on the chat box for you guys, right? For you guys to fill, and this will give us some your insights and what you want us to keep doing further with regards to such events. So we'll also request you to fill that feedback form, and we will keep it open here. If you guys have any questions, please go ahead and ask. As Rohin shared, this is either the talk was too amazing or, hey,
I think
Rajat,
Rajat
yes.
has a question.
Please, Rajat, go ahead. Rajat, you're on mute. In case you're not able to unmute, you can post it on
hello,
the
sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Please go ahead.
Rajat Panda this side. Actually, my question is, it is quite easy to quantify the ROI of technical training programs. But how to measure the blue color, white color, like behavioral training programs? How to measure the ROI of white color training programs, like behavioral, team building, and all?
I think that's an interesting question that, we are able to measure the
Right.
effectiveness of tech programs, hard skills, but how do we really, measure the effectiveness of soft skills programs or leadership programs or coaching, right? I think this is something that will be, close to your heart, Shanti. So maybe you want to take it forward, start off, and then probably Srinivasan and Vaibhav can also pitch in, please.
Yeah, I think I had touched on it earlier in the session too, where I said that soft skills are behaviors, and the only way to measure them is through observation. Does a person say this when this happened? Does a person not say this? In a feedback, does he do A, B, C, D, or does she not do A, B, C, D? So basically, those have to be observed behaviors. Now, how you observe them uh, can be through various sources. Plus, it is also when we are when trying to measure soft skills, it is also has to do with the outcome. So if feedback, I'm just going to take the example of feedback across so that it makes stringing the things together easy. When you're receiving feedback, is the intended outcome achieved? And that can't be measured over one feedback or one conversation. It has to be an observed behavior over a longish period of time. And the number of instances has to be averaged out. I mean, you can't say just because one conversation didn't go well, this person doesn't know how to give feedback, or just because one conversation went well, this person is amazing at giving feedback. Those kinds of generalizations ideally should not work. So behavior for a observed time period before the intervention, and eventually now how you observe through surveys, through 360, through asking, checking, through outcome evaluation, that has to really vary. So it is not easy. It's despite all of this, it cannot be accurate according to me, given the context, given the situation, given the scenario, given the mindset of the person, the emotional intelligence or emotional quotient in that moment for that person. They may choose to behave differently irrespective of how skilled or not skilled they are. So it is difficult to measure.
Right, Shanti. Expanding on the thought that you had shared by providing some sort of answers, Srini, if you're okay, if I
Yeah.
may. Yes.
Go
So
ahead.
we are testing out learning to performance framework in my organization, and it seems to be working out. So addressing your question, Rajat, and this might be helpful for the others as well, right? So when we think about like Shanti mentioned, it is difficult. And it may seem difficult, but anything that seems difficult today will become easy tomorrow, considering we are putting in ample efforts and practicing. So what we are doing is that we are using a standard framework, which is Corn Ferry's set of competencies. There are 38 competencies that Corn Ferry has, and Corn Ferry acquired Lominger, which had about over 60 competencies. Right, so they've made things very simple. They've put it out like these are the 38 core competencies.